And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. I thought I'd do a last minute since I was up late working on some things trying to get this project done so that way I can have it to you guys to present. So I decided to do a little live tonight. I thought I'd interrupt some of you guys that are celebrating Christmas. You know, you do have quite a few people that, you know, on the download, still doing certain things that they speak against. You know what I mean? You know, you see it a lot, you know, whether it's in politics, you see politicians speaking against homosexuality, but then they are operating in homosexuality. You see a lot of them get caught out, they get busted with, you know, all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, you do have people, whether they're awakened or not, that speak against Christmas, and they are secretly still doing their celebrations on the download, you know. So I just thought I'd just, you know, interrupt some of that by doing this last minute presentation. I know we had a great discussion, and I did a very thorough teaching on Christmas, do it from time to time. I even went as far as having a challenged for a couple of years. I challenged any pastor. I was going to put 5Gs, $5,000. I guess the term now is 5 racks. I was going to give them that amount if to their ministry if they can prove with Scripture that Christmas, is valid from a celebration perspective, and didn't get a single taker on that. Not surprised, but just thought I'd interrupt some of those that are celebrating this day on the download, and you can kind of do your due diligence and do your discernment, and you can kind of discern those that are actually doing this on the download on the DL. But also want to say that we had a great time. Want to say peace and blessings to my sister, Dr. Newell. See you in the chat here, and I may drop the chat. Matter of fact, I'll drop the link inside the comment section. And tonight I don't expect to have a lot of participation tonight because of tonight. And I wanted to give clarity on a few things, and I want to make sure everyone understand this, that because we had our feast of dedication concluded today, and I want to make it clear, feast of dedication is not an alternative to celebrating Christmas. Feast of dedication is not Christmas. Ha Nakath has nothing to do with Christmas celebration. It wasn't December in the scriptures. In the Maccabees, you'll see it's the 9th month. But according to the Gregorian calendar, the 9th month will fall on the 12th month of the Gregorian calendar, right? And the 25th, if you understand the Hebrew calendar compared to the Gregorian calendar, right? The Hebrew calendar only had 360 days in the original calendar, right? In the Gregorian calendar, there's 365 days. So that tells you there are 5 additional days added to the calendar. So that means you're going to have to subtract 5 days from that. So that'll tell you that according to the Hebrew calendar, the Feast of Dedication, right, which is an 8-day celebration, already began, right? So I just want to make sure you guys understand that. I taught on this the last time I went live. I encourage you guys to go watch that lesson that I did a couple of nights ago about the Feast of Dedication. I really went, was it the night before? No, actually, night before we dealt with Apostle Paul. We dealt with Colossians chapter 2 and 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. But I want to say about a week ago, I dealt with the Feast of Dedication. And we had a great time at our Feast of Dedication at the Shabbat, which fell, the last day fell on earlier today. We had a great time. We did not broadcast it or anything like that. We want to keep it tight knit because of all the stuff that's going on within, those that proclaim to teach scriptures. It's a lot of craziness that's going on. So I really appreciate all you guys for the love and support. And I know it's a few of us here tonight, but it's all good. It's all good. So tonight I want to deal with this here. And this is part of the in-depth study I did on Christmas. And I want to deal with hung from a tree. And if we have enough time, I'll even get into the tree itself and give clarity on that, because there are some, and I think one of them was Dr. Fred Price Jr. Came up with a way of, approaching the scriptures to try to justify hanging up trees. And don't want to throw him under the bus, but it was definitely overreaching about that, right? It was definitely overreaching. So, but anyway, that's it. 365 days or 300. I know I mess up, with my my quotes, and my apologies, if I got the days wrong, but but I could have sworn that there's 365 days in a year, right? I thought of someone make a post saying comment section 364, but either way, if you want to say 364, 365, one thing we know that is more days in the year. Of course, if we count leap year and go back and forth, but yeah, so some with 365, some 364, but we know that the days are off compared to the ancient Hebrew calendar. So we're going to deal with a little bit tonight. I'm going to share this revelation that I taught years ago. And hey, how's it going, Jay? Hi, Style, out in the boonies where my reception is lagging. However, I'm listening. Appreciate you. Appreciate all you guys. Appreciate you, Jay. Appreciate you. So we're going to get into it, family. We're going to deal with this, when one of the, how can I put it, parts to this in-depth, thorough research that I did on this pagan holiday. And so we're going to deal with the destruction of people hung from a tree. And I want to give clarity on this because this is imperative. It's some great information I want to share and how this ties in with our community, right? So I really want to deal with this. Let's see here. Just real quick, brother. What is it? Straightly Cadet. Enoch Jubilees 364. I would say this in Torah, the first 5 books, and you could go look it up. You will not find a month that's more than or less than 30 days. You will not find a year more or less than 12 months. So I stick to the ancient Hebrew calendar like that. So no offense to anyone that go off the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilees, but if you go into Torah is my foundation. I don't deviate from that. Anything that contradicts Torah, or if there's a seem to be a discrepancy, I err on the side of I go with caution with going with Torah. So yeah, maybe by the time that with the book of Jubilees were written and the book of Enoch was written, the days were added because there is proof that the calendars began to be modified by that time. So again, in the Gregorian calendar, 365. But if you say book of Jubilees, I know some would say that it's 354. I can't remember. I haven't messed with the book in quite some time. But either way, in the scriptures, there are 12 months 12-month years and 30-day months. So I encourage you guys to take a look at that. So yeah. But if forgive me if I misquote you, it's not my intention to embarrass you or nothing like that. It's just that I know that in the book of Enoch, I can't remember, I thought it said 354. But either way, we know that in ancient Hebrew, the very first calendar, you'll see 30-day months, and you could confirm it with scripture. And so I just err on the side of caution, and I encourage you guys likewise. Anything that seemed to be a contradiction, let the Torah be your foundation. So really appreciate it. No, I understand, brother Straight Cat. I just wanted to just make sure that I'm not embarrassing you or nothing like that by pulling you up here, because it's not me trying to correct you or anything like that. So just want to make sure that we're clear. Really appreciate you for tuning in. All right, family, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's deal with being hung from a tree. And this is one of the major reasons why, not just knowing that Christmas is a pagan holiday, it's a tradition of man, but also look at the things that come with the territory of this. The doctrine of destruction of people hung from a tree. Right? Revelation chapter 2, verse 14 and 15. And we're going to start with here. And notice this here. We covered this the last session, and we're going to continue to build on this here. And hope this helps and blesses you guys. But it says here, Revelation chapter 2, verse 14 and 15. But I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and to commit fornication. And if we have enough time, we'll deal with the swine. But again, Revelations, the book of Revelation, Gala is the Hebrew word, Gala, right? Which means to reveal. It also means redemption, right? So redeem rather. It says, but I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and to commit fornication. So hast thou also them that hold the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, right? Which thing I hate. I'll read it again. So hast thou also them that hold the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, or Nicolaitans, however you want to pronounce it, which thing I hate. So let's delve into this. I gave the definition in the last session we have, but we're going to give a refresher here. And for those that's joining for the first time, fill you in and get you caught up here as well. What is the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, right? What is their doctrine? Here's the Greek definition of the word. Nicolaitans, right? It means destruction of people. That's what the Nicolaitans is. Their name alone just means the destruction of people. I want to make that clear. Nicolaitans literally means the destruction of people. And we know that those that are in the church that are celebrating Christmas, we know those that established this so-called born day or birthday celebration for Christ. We know that it wasn't until the 4th century when the church began to acknowledge and celebrate a born day for Christ. That's a fact. So think about all the players that carry the spirit of Balaam, the spirit of the Babylonians, the spirit of destroying Yah's people. Think about the Catholic Church. Think about the Christian Church. Think about Judaism. Think about Islam. All of them formed a confederate, and all of them enslaved our people, our ancestors. We're still dealing with the craziness from that. So that is that name, Nicolaitans, right? It means destruction of people. All right. And so it goes on, and the in-depth definition of this here, which you see in the top right of your screen, that's all this is right here. It says, a section mentioned in Revelation chapter 2, verse 6, who were charged with holding the error of Balaam, casting a stumbling block before the church of God. And I don't like to use that term. You guys understand. The called out assembly of the Most High. That's who we're dealing with, right? The blood descendants of Israel is who we are dealing with. We are not dealing with the church. The word church was not used until the 4th century as well, right? This word originates with the Celtics, or some would say Celtics. It originates with them. I taught that in the last lesson. So it wasn't a church. It was Israel. Right? Because it says the section mentioned in Revelation chapter 2, verse 6, who were charged with holding the error of Balaam, casting a stumbling block before the called out assembly, the Ha-Kal Quahal, right? Adath Yashara'al, right? Casting a stumbling block before them, the Israelites, Yah's chosen people, and the non-blood descendants of Israel who chose to do the things that pleased the Most High, according to Isaiah 56. And that is honoring the feast days and taking charge, taking hold, taking possession, and executing the things of the covenant, which is the 10 commandments. So in the 10 commandments, you have the 7-day Shabbat that's included in there, but then you also have feast days that it mentions, plural Shabbats. So what that means is that these non-blood descendants of Israel, they embrace honoring the covenant. They embrace celebrating the feast days. So anyone that's contradicting that right there, that alone, guess what? The Most High don't receive you, don't honor you. All right. So again, a section mentioned in Revelation chapter 2, verse 6, who were charged with holding the error of Balaam, casting a stumbling block before the called out assembly of witnesses, Israel, by upholding the liberty of eating things sacrificed to idols as well as committing fornication. So guess what? Things that are sacrificed to idols, that's swine, that's rodents, that's dog, right? Those are the things that were sacrificed to idols, swine. Okay, so here's the destructive doctrines of the Nicolaitans, right? And we're going to start off with what is Christmas. We already dealt with this, but guess what? We're going to deal with it again. Again, for its first 3 centuries, the church did not have a birthday for the Messiah, right? Did not have a birthday for the Messiah. That is a fact, right? For the first 3 centuries. And so let's deal with the Christmas tree, which is phallic worship. And I'm going to prove it to you. Let's go to this book. And I encourage you, family, if you don't have this book, get this book. That's right, Jay Highstyle. Many people are eating rodents when they ice cream. Beaver butt, right? Beaver butt. You had to remind everyone on that, Brother Jay. But yeah, family. If vanilla, if you're not eating that natural ice cream, guess what? Guess where you're getting that vanilla from? It's coming from the beaver.
What?
Well, we used to say when I was in high school, we used to say bacterial cavity, right? That's what we used to call it. It was like from your bacterial cavity.
What?
All right. So this book right here, this book will shut down every holiday that the church, that Catholicism celebrates. This book right here. You don't need any other book. This book right here, if you get this source right here, it will shut down any holiday that Christianity celebrates. And I'm going to post this inside the comment section, or the chat rather. Let me post this inside the chat for you guys. But this book will shut it down. Shut down all those holidays. All right, so let me put that in here. And this is the page I'm going to be quoting from. All right, let's put it in here. All right. So I'm posting this right now. All right, so this book right here will shut down Christmas. It will shut it down. It will shut it down. Without a doubt, this book right here will shut down Christmas. It'll shut down Easter. It'll shut down every holiday, so-called holiday that Christianity and Catholicism celebrate. It shuts it down. Shuts down any within Judaism. Shut down some of the things that are going on in Judaism. Right? It shuts it down. All right. But let's go ahead and see what it says here. We're going to go to page 163. Right. This is a quote from this book. This is the actual book right here. Right. And let's see what it says. Right. It says here, the Christmas tree, now so common among us, was equally common in Rome and Egypt. Right. And this is, actually giving some pushback on Pastor Dr. Fred Price Jr. Teaching, the thought or teaching, promoting the usage of putting up a Christmas tree, stating that, that has nothing to do, far as and we'll deal with the scriptures, has nothing to do with the Christmas tree, which is unfortunate, and that's what's happening with many within this awakening. You have many that are awake, but still laying in bed. Awake, but still laying in bed, right? So many of our brothers and sisters have awakened, but they still haven't gotten out of bed. So the Christmas tree, now so common among us, was equally common in Rome and Egypt. In Egypt, that tree was the palm tree. In Rome, it was the fir. The palm tree denoting the pagan Messiah as Baal-Peor, right? The fir referring to him as Baal-Peor, In other words, we see Barit, right? That is the Israeli pronunciation of the covenant. The ancient pronunciation is Barayath, right? Barit, Barayath, right? Ancient Hebrew is Barayath. That is covenant. So again, I'm going to read it one more time. The Christmas tree, now so common among us, was equally common in Rome and Egypt. In Egypt, that tree was the palm tree. In Rome, it was the fir, the palm tree denoting the pagan Messiah as Baal-Tamar, the fir referring to him as Baal-Berit, right? It goes on to say Tamar signifies a palm tree, and Baal-Tamar, the lord of the palm tree, and Baal-Berit, which was also one of the titles of the pagan Messiah, signifying Lord of the Covenant, was almost identical to Baal-Berith, which signifies Lord of the fir tree or firm tree. It was just another instance of that jugglery of words, in other words, playing on words, by which the cunning priests of Chaldea mystified the common people in order to further their own craft, that the word Baal-Berith, right? Because this is Israel. We're dealing with Israel right here. The cunning priests of Chaldea, guess what? This is Israel. You can see this in the scriptures. Israel was indulging in this stuff. The Lord of the covenant, right? They began to enter into a covenant. That's why you start getting into the word prostitution. You'll see the terms fornicating. You'll see adultery, because Israel was making a covenant with other cultures, other deities, other belief systems, right? It goes on to say, was represented by Baal-Berith, lord of the fir tree. Hence, the fir tree became a symbol of the Babylonian false Messiah. The palm tree was the well-known symbol of victory, and the title Lord of the Palm Tree was apparently given to the pagan Messiah in accordance with the tradition of the primeval promise that the Messiah, the seed of the woman, should bruise the serpent's head or be victorious over the serpent, that is the devil, right? So who is Baal-Tamar? Let's deal with that real quick. So y'all can understand what's going here. This is all phallic worship. That Christmas tree represents phallic worship. Who is Baal-Berith? We're going to give clarity here. So these guys are directly connected to the palm tree, right? These guys are directly connected to the worship of the palm tree. Here we go. Notice the palm tree. In the Babylonian myth of the primal garden, let me read it again. I'm fumbling over my words tonight. Not sure. Maybe because it's a little late. Not sure. But anyway, in the Babylonian myth of the primal garden, the palm tree was the tree of life, a dwelling place of the goddess Astarte. The Hebrew version of her name was Tamar. In other words, palm tree. Her male counterpart was Baal-Peor. You'll see this in the scriptures, right? Or Phoenix, the god of Phoenicia, whose name meant land of the palm. As a phallic deity, let me say that again, as a phallic deity, Baal-Peor was symbolized by a palm tree between two large stones. Now, come on, family, we all adults here. We know when you think of the palm tree and it says between two large stones, that is dealing with a male reproductive organ, if you know what I mean. Sexual orgies in the temple celebrated his union with the goddess in Phoenicia and in Israel until priests of Yahweh or Yahweh killed the celebrants in the midst of their rites. And that's Numbers chapter 25, verse 8. We'll cover some of that. So the deity Baal-Berith is in the Holy Scriptures, right? Judges chapter 8, verse 33 and 34. Notice what it says. And it came to pass, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel turned again and went a whoring after Baalim or Baalim, right? And made Baal-Berith, in other words, their Lord of the covenant, their deities of the covenant, their Elohim. And the children of Israel remembered not Yahweh Elohim, who had delivered them out of the hands of all their enemies on every side. Right? You'll see in the book of Judges, you see multiple captivities, like 6, 7 captivities in the book of Judges alone. So let's deal with Baal-Peor, Lord of the Cleft. So far, I'm proving to you that, and I want to tie it in and prove that the Christmas tree is nothing more than phallic worship. That Christmas tree, I'm going to show you what it represents, right? So Baal-Peor, Lord of the Cleft, Phoenician phallic god coupled with Asherah's yonic cleft. So that tree represents, and when you start understanding Hinduism, it represents sexual rituals, the coming together, sexual rituals. Israelites adopted his cult and celebrated sexual rites in his honor in the tabernacle until Yahweh's reformers killed the celebrants. Baal-Peor's symbol was a palm tree between two stones, a male genital symbol, recalling the phallic god of Egypt, Osiris Men, whose worshippers prayed to achieve. You guys already know. I'm not going to read all of that for the sake of kids maybe watching. For us, I just don't want to do that. But like a palm tree, so you understand the palm tree represents, right, a male reproductive organ. So the Egyptians goddess Seshat. Let's deal with her. Let's deal with her. We still tying into the tree that is nothing but paganism. That's nothing but pagan worship. Right? Every year, 7 days before the New Year's, the ancient Egyptians would pay homage to the goddess Seshat, which is their tree of life. So she is the Egyptian goddess of writing, measurements, calculations, record keeping, hieroglyphics, mistress of the house of books. That's one of her names. Lady of the builder's measure. That's another one of her names. And this is the image here. Notice that tree, right? This is the image of her. And this image, Seshat, is holding the palm reed scepter, right? The palm reed scepter, right? That was used for keeping records of time, and it says, and which also is the tool used by ancient Egyptian scribes. So this is her right here, right? Notice this tree in the background, okay? And these are some ancient pictures of them celebrating and decorating the tree, right? So what does the Bible say about the Christmas tree? Well, let's get into it. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1 through 5. Hear ye the word, hear. Listen with intelligence. Shema. Ye the word which Yahweh speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith Yahweh, learn not the ways of the heathen. Let's see what it says again. Learn not the ways of the heathen, and be not dismayed by at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. So false religions, these different belief systems, have rituals that their members must follow. Most cases, these rituals stress securing righteousness by being good and doing good works. People must do good works in order to become righteous and accept their false god. This is totally contrary to the truth, right? When we go back to chapter 10, verse 3, notice what it says. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not. So what Pastor Price, Dr. Price Jr., he was trying to make this into, like the heads, those headstones, that you see in Hawaii. You'll see some of these at, I can't remember, it's not Stonehenge. It's another location where you have these heads, right? These that's carvings into stone or carvings into wood, right? So that's what he was trying to say that this is talking about, which is not true, family. Not true whatsoever, right? The work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with gold and silver, right? You chop down a tree, right? And you prune a tree with a tool, whether it's a sharp axe. You could not scissors, not the hedges that we have today, hedge clippers or whatever. Not today. The trimmers and all that stuff. They did it with their axe. They did it with their knives at that time. Come on, family. It's not them just carving faces and all that stuff. That's completely incorrect. The work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not. Right? They are upright as the palm tree. Come on, family. You can't get no plainer than this. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. So let's continue with this. This is coming from the Tanakh. Hear the words of Yahweh has spoken to you, O house of Israel. Thus saith Yahweh, do not learn to go the way of the nations, and do not be dismayed by their portents in the skies. Let the nations be dismayed by them. But here's the kicker. Verse 3. For the laws of the nations are delusions. Let me say that again. For the laws of the nations are delusions. One more time. For the laws of the nations are delusions. For it is the work of a craftsman's hand. He cuts down a tree in the forest with an axe. He adorns it with silver and gold, fastens it with nails and hammers, so that it does not totter. In other words, move. They are like a scarecrow in a cucumber patch. They cannot speak. They have to be carried, for they cannot walk. Be not afraid of them, for they can do no harm, nor is it in them to do any good. In other words, it can cause you to lose your salvation, lose your relationship with the Most High, which happened to Israel, another captivity, right? Worshiping false idols is a waste because they are worthless, useless, and helpless. That's what the message that is being relayed in Jeremiah chapter 10. These so-called deities are absolutely nothing, which means that worshiping them amounts to nothing but being banned, right? That's what it means, right? That's what happens. But let's tie this in, right? Let's deal with this, still dealing with the tree, but I want you guys to understand this from a different angle. Let's deal with the beginning of sorrows, right? The time of Odin. Let's break this down real quick. Hebrew definition of sorrow. Notice what it says here, right? It says in the Hebrew word makob or makabai in the ancient Hebrew, but it says here makob, right? Again, not getting into the semantics. It means anguish, affliction, grief, pain. The Greek definition of sorrow. Notice what it says. Pain, sorrow, travail. But notice what you see this word here, Odin. You see the Greek word is Odin. In entry number 2, intolerable anguish, in reference to the dire calamities precede the advent of the Messiah. So we see that this is anguish. This is affliction. This is, basically being tortured, right? Odin, inflicting pain, sorrow, travail. So let's see if there's a coincidence on something I'm going to bring to your attention. Odin, inflicting pain, right? Sorrow, anguish. Notice this here. The Greek word for sorrow is Odin. Now, this is Odin. And notice how this ties into these so-called holidays. This is the original Santa Claus right here. This is Odin right here. The original image of Santa Claus. This is one eye missing, 2 birds, even though there's only one here, right? But Norse All Father. So Odin is referred to All Father, called God of the hanged. Is that a coincidence that you see that the Messiah is being hanged? He's being hanged from the cross or from the tree because, again, he's being hanged. He's being tortured, right? So Norse All Father called God of the hanged because the trees of his sacred grove at Uppsala were laden with hanged human sacrifices, even as late as the 10th century. Each victim's drama, right? Dramar, which means drama, recapitulated the death rebirth of Odin himself when he acquired his divine powers by giving himself up to immolation on the world tree, wounded in the side with the spear. So the Greeks, their whole method of torturing when they lynched the Messiah was paying homage to Odin, pierced him in the side. Isn't that the scripture? Hung him from the cross, which is also referred to a tree. Wounded in the side with a spear, he said, I know that I hung on the windy tree for 9 whole nights, wounded with the spear dedicated to Odin, myself to myself. Right? So when we go to Exodus chapter 3, verse 7, notice what this says. Right? And Yahweh said, I have surely seen the affliction, I of my people, which are in Egypt, and I have heard Shemai their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. Here's the Hebrew word for sorrows, makabai, right? And I am come down to deliver them out of the land of Egypt and to bring them up out. Maccabi, doesn't that sound like Maccabees? Because there was a time of sorrows that Israel went through during the Maccabean period when they were dealing with Antiochus forcing the Greek culture on them. So when we go to Matthew chapter 24, let's start at verse 1. Notice what it says here. And Yahushua went out of the temple, went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for him to show him the building of the temple. And Yahushua said unto them, see ye all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be a stone here, be left here one stone upon it. And I'm fumbling over my words tonight. Upon another, that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name. In other words, reputation, right? Hashem, in my name, reputation, saying, I am Mashiach, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So we're dealing with the time of Jerusalem being sacked, right? For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilence, earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of Bara'ah of sorrows, Makabai, right? The beginning, Bara'ah or Bara, Makabai, beginning of sorrows. So when is the beginning of sorrows, right? Listen with intelligence, hearken. That's what hearkens mean. Listen with intelligence. To hear intelligently, obedience, consider, all right, give ear, discern. Did it begin with the destruction of the temple? Right? Matthew 24, verse 1 through 2, it makes it clear. Right? It says here, they're acknowledging the temple, but when we get to verse 2, and Yahushua said it to them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another. So we see the destruction of the temple, and he's dealing with the time of sorrows, right? Starts with the destruction of the temple, right? Luke chapter 21, verse 5 and 6 confirms this as well. For as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, he said, as for these things which ye behold, the days will come in the which there shall not be left one stone upon another, that shall not be thrown down. So some spake of the temple and how it was adorned. So when we go to Josephus, he gives clarity. Chapter 8. Notice what he says here. Notice what he says about this temple. Jock Pompey had the city of Jerusalem delivered up to him, but took the temple by force. How he went into the Holy of Holies. Also what were his other exploits in Judea. Now here it was that upon about the many hardships which the Romans underwent, Pompey could not but admire, Pompey could not but admire not only at the other instances of the Jews' fortitude, but especially that they did not at all intermix their religious services, even when they were encompassed with darts on all sides, for as if the city were in full peace. So Israel still continued on doing the sacrifices, right? They still continued on honoring the Shabbat. Their daily sacrifices and purification in every branch of their religious worship was still performed to the Most High. Then we go to chapter 2 of the Jewish Wars. It says this in a footnote as well. But it says how Titus gave orders to demolish the Tower of Antonia, and then persuaded Josephus to exhort the Jews, in other words, Judah, again to surrender. And now Titus gave orders to his soldiers that were with him to dig up the foundations of the Tower of Antonia and make him a ready passage for his army to come up, while he himself had Josephus brought to him, for he had been informed that on the very day, which was the 17th day of Panemus, in other words, Tammuz, they sacrificed called the daily sacrifice had failed and had not been offered. And then the footnotes, it confirms this, right? 70 AD. It talks about the prophecies of Daniel. How sacrifices and oblations is going to cease, right? So for all these things must come to pass. And notice what you see here, Tammuz, right? And we'll deal with this here because Tammuz today, the Israeli group today, they have a season of Tammuz that begins like in July. All right. So Matthew's going back to Matthew chapter 24, verse 5 through 8. Again, this is just reiterating what we just pointed out, but I just want to get to verse 8. All these things are the beginning, bara'ah, of sorrows, makabai, right? Beginning of sorrows. When we get to 9 and 10, notice what it says here. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. So I'm going to show you, right? Christ, the Hamashiach, is telling his disciples about the time of sorrow is going to be the destruction of the temple. And I'm going to prove it here, right? Going back to Luke 21, verse 12 and 13. Notice what it says here. But before all these things, right? Before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prison, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. So this is the prophecy. This is dealing with the sacking of Jerusalem, 70 AD, right? And this is how the disciples, he's telling the disciples, they're going to be tortured. They're going to be murdered. They're going to be killed. They're going to be persecuted, right? So here's some of the death of the disciples. I'm not going to ask the question. I'm just going to get into it. Acts chapter 12, verse 1 through 3. Now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the called out assembly of the Most High, right? The witnesses of Israel. And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased Judah, he proceeded further to take Peter also. So we see with scripture, we see how the disciples were being tortured. It says, then were the days of unleavened bread. So this is during the high holy days, the feast days. And when we go to Eusebius of Caesarea, the ecclesiastical history, right? This also points out, right, some of the death of the disciples. We're dealing with John here, right, who wrote the book of Revelation. It is said that in this persecution, the apostle and evangelist John, who was still alive, was condemned to dwell on the island of Patmos in word. Listen to a tale, which is not a mere tale, but a narrative concerning John the apostle, which has been handed down and treasured up in memory. For when, after the tyrant's death, he returned from the Isle of Patmos to Ephesus, he went away upon their invitation to the neighboring territories of the Gentiles. Now we're going to the complete works of Tertullian. Notice what he says. Peter endures a passion like his Lord, in other words, Yahweh, where Paul wins his crown in a death like John, where the apostle John was first plunged unhurt into boiling oil and thence remitted to his island exile. See what she has learned. So this is just giving more clarity here. Domitian, right? He exiled John, and this is giving clarity right here, right? Domitian, having shown great cruelty towards many and having unjustly put to death no small number of well-born and notable men at Rome, and having without cause exiled and confiscated the property of a great many of other illustrious men, finally became a successor of Nero, and his hatred and enmity towards the Most High. He was, in fact, the second that stirred up a persecution against us, although the father Vespasian had undertaken nothing prejudiced to us. So when we go back to Tertullian, it says this, that Peter is struck and Stephen is overwhelmed by stones. James is slain as is a victim at the altar. Paul is beheaded, has been written in their own blood. And if a heretic wish his confidence to rest upon a public record, the archives of the empire will speak. Also, the stones of Jerusalem. We read the lives of the Caesars. At Rome, Nero was the first who stained with blood the rising faith. Then is Peter girt by another when he is made fast to the cross, right? And I'm just showing you guys some history of what is being said about the disciples of being killed, right? And as we see here, it says here, thus publicly announcing himself as the first among God's chief enemies, he was led on to slaughter of the apostles. It is therefore recorded that Paul was beheaded in Rome itself, and that Peter likewise was crucified under Nero. This account of Peter and Paul is substantiated by the fact that their names are preserved in the cemeteries of that place even to this day. So we see here how they the tortures of what the disciples had to go through. But now let's deal with some prophecy here. Deuteronomy chapter 21 verse 23, and this is key. His body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day, for he that is hanged is cursed with a curse. So this is dealing with someone that has to deal with execution, right? Capital punishment. This is why they had to pull the Messiah down off the cross. They could not let him go into the Shabbat, go into the next day with him up on that cross, because Israel will be cursing the land. All right. So let's go back here to this thought again. The beginning of sorrows is actually the time of Odin. Let me say that again. The beginning of sorrows is actually the time of Odin. The time of the Gentiles is actually the time of Odin. The transatlantic slave trade or World War is actually the time of Odin. And we can also prove that this is also the transition of going into the time of the Great Tribulation, right? I could tie that to this transatlantic World War. So the lynching period, guess what? It's actually the time of Odin, right? And this is what happened to our brothers and sisters. Come on, hung on the tree, being hanged on a tree, tortured. Come on, family. We can't get around this. Look at the things that our ancestors had to go through. Show me one group of people that had to go through this. I'm gonna Zoom in so that way it can really sink in for those that really don't understand. Look what it says here. Show me one group of people that went through this. The bounty, $200, because I know this can't be $2. $200 a dozen for niggas' ears. Right? You guys see that? You guys see that? You guys see that on your screen? $200. $200 for our ears. I want that to resonate a little bit for you guys to understand that. Right? $200 for nigger ears. Or should I say niggas?
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
So that's what you see on your screen, family. This is the time of sorrows, right? Time of affliction. There's multiple times of affliction, even though, like I said, the time of the destruction of the temple, that's the beginning of sorrows. That's the Messiah talked about, right? And look what's happening right now. We're still being hung. Look at this. This is a mother right here. This is a mother. Let me zoom in. Who is raped, right? Hung, right along with her 14-year-old son. Her 14-year-old son was molested, was sodomized in front of her by a mob of white guys, at least 40 of them. And the full photo is her and him being hung next to each other. And with him, her son, his pants is down at his ankles. He was molested. He was raped. He was sodomized. They were performing all kinds of rituals on our people, satanic rituals on our people. Look at this here. What group of people went through this? What group of people went through this? Hanging from a fire escape in the city. Y'all be surprised some of the lynchings and hangings that have gone on in New York City and Newark, New Jersey, and Baltimore and DC. And, you'd be surprised. How many people went through this? Not a single other community went through the brutality that we had to deal with. Come on, family. I know this is probably making some of you guys upset, and rightfully so. Come on, family. This is the stuff that they're telling us to forget about. So each victim's, remember, time of Odin himself, the homage, each victim's drama or dramar, in other words, drama, recatapulated the death, rebirth of Odin himself. So each time they tortured, each time they brought drama to the individual, and that's the whole lynching process. The lynching process is not just being hung, right? The whole process is the lynching itself, the torture, the drama. They're operating in the spirit of their deities, right? These people, their deities, many of them are Germanic, many of them are descendants of the Greeks, many are descendants of the Romans, many of them, this is who their deity is. When you understand the Germanic languages, when you understand the Germanic culture, the Norse is a religion. Odin is their deity. That's their father. And is it a coincidence that this group of people have an obsession with torturing us, our community, Yah's people? Is there a coincidence? Is there a coincidence, family, that we see this inside the holy text? We've experienced this, and we also see that this is in the doctrine of the perpetrators. Right? Is this a coincidence? Come on, family. But yet many are still celebrating this tree. Many within the church, starting with the church, want to do anything to try to justify putting a tree up. What group of people have the history of fearing to be hanged on a tree? What group of people that have to deal with and be fearful of being hanged on a tree. We're the only group of people that ever had to deal with the fear of being hanged on a tree. Come on, family. The Messiah was lynched. Come on, family. We cannot get around it. We cannot get away from it. The Messiah was lynched. Right? The Messiah was lynched, family. He was lynched. Crucified is just a glorified term, or what? No, I'm not going to say glorified term. It's a term that is used to dumb us down, to separate what really took place from what happened to us. Because if they put lynched, if you really understand what actually happened, that it was actually a lynching, right? Then you can understand it really know that we are the people of the book. Because the Messiah was cursed, right? Hung on a tree, cursed. But the difference is they took him down. But what happened to our people? They had us stand up all night. That's why there's a judgment coming to this country. They were leaving our people hung up in the tree all night. So this ground, this land, this country is cursed because of that. There's consequences and repercussions that are going to come because of the actions. It's still happening right now. Come on, family. It's still happening right now. Still happening right now. And as I pointed out, the Messiah, he was lynched. He was lynched, family. And I know many will want to dumb it down and say that he wasn't. No, he was lynched. That's the entire process. When you understand the process he had to go through. Right? He was lynched. No matter how you slice and dice it, the Messiah was lynched. All right. So the disciples were lynched. So the Messiah was lynched. The disciples were lynched. And truth be told, all of Israel was lynched. Study the history of what happened. They were hanging, Israel all through the path going into Jerusalem. Many of them was hung on the road leading into Jerusalem. Bodies all over the place, similar to what was happening in this country, how they were taking our ancestors and hanging them, putting their heads on stakes and everything. So the disciples were lynched. Guess what? The Israelites was and continue to be lynched. Curse, right? Curse for those that are what? Hung, left on a tree. So we're dealing with the consequences of actions that our ancestors have made, but at the same time, there's a judgment for this country and other countries that have done this to our people. There's a judgment for that. The Most High used other nations to carry out his judgment and correction to Israel, but some of the nations went overboard. And if you really understand the book of Zechariah, starting with chapter 1, you'll see there's judgments that's coming to all these nations because of going overboard. The Israelites was and continue to be lynched to this day, right? When we look at the word lynch, inflict severe, even though it says, but not deliberately fatal, bodily punishment without legal sanctions, right? Not getting into all the details of this right here, right? So notice this here, Kissimmee Valley, Florida Gazette, April 28th, 1899, Sam Holt. I talk about this all the time. Look at this satanic ritual that was done to him, burned at the stake, because a lot of these guys, the people that was inflicting this stuff on our people, they were practicing all kinds of witchcraft. They were literally carrying out rituals on our ancestors, right? Notice what it says, right? And this article is titled, Negro Burned Alive in Florida, Second Negro Then Hanged. Before the torch was applied to the pyre, the Negro was deprived of his ears, fingers, and genital parts of his body. Guess what? When you think about Nat Turner, it wasn't just that they took his body and used it as grease. No, they ate this person. Man, what you see happen to Sam Holt, this is what happened to Nat Turner, as well as some of our other ancestors. Before the torch was applied to the pyre, the Negro was deprived of his ears, fingers, genital parts of his body. He pleaded he pleaded pitifully for his life while the mutilation was going on, but stood the ordeal of fire with surprising fortitude. In other words, he's saying, the witness is saying here, he lasted longer than what he expected. Before the body was cool, it was cut to pieces. The bones were crushed into small bits, and even the tree which upon the wretched met his fate was torn up and disposed as souvenirs. Right? Going back to those Negro ears, right? $200 for a dozen. The Negro's heart was cut into several pieces, as was also his liver. Those unable to obtain the ghastly relics direct paid their more fortunate possessors extravagant sums for them. Small pieces of bones went for 25 cents, and a bit of the liver, crisply cooked, sold for 10 cents. Come on, what are they getting a piece of liver, fried liver, for? 10 cents for fried liver from a Negro. 10 cents. As soon as the Negro was seen to be dead, there was a tremendous struggle among the crowd which had witnessed his tragic end to secure the souvenirs. A rush was made for the stake, and those near the body were forced against it and had to fight for their freedom. So now you see that they are literally becoming a mob. They are a mob now. They bum rushing the crime scene, so to speak, trying to get their piece of that dead Negro. Knives were quickly produced, and soon the body was dismembered. You see this in the Maccabees. You see this happening in the Maccabees. Because of not eating pork, refusing pork, fried a brother, man, inside a frying pan. Fried him. Come on, family. Cooked him in a pan. Right? So the conclusion of the drama of Sam Holt was his body cut into pieces and sold as souvenirs. Cut into pieces. Scattered, right? Merry Christmas. Right? Merry Christmas. Joyful that the Messiah, right, the anointed one, was dismissed, was scattered. The conclusion of the drama of Sam Holt was that his body was cut into pieces and sold as souvenirs. John 19, verse 23 and 24, notice what it says. Then the soldiers, when they crucified Yahushua, took his garments and made 4 parts, to every soldier a part. Now they're dividing it. They're dividing his garments. They're cutting it up. Doesn't that sound familiar with what happened to Sam Holt and some of our other ancestors? And also his coat. Now the coat was without seam, woven from the top throughout. They said, therefore among themselves, let us not rend it, but cast lots for it. Doesn't it sound familiar? Doesn't it sound like some of what our ancestors, just what I just read about the testimony of Sam Holt? But cast lots for it, whose it shall be, that the scriptures might be fulfilled, which saith, they parted my raiment among them, for my vesture they did cast lots. These things therefore the soldiers did. The 22nd book of Psalms, verse 16 and 18. Notice what it says here. For dogs have compassed me, right? The assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. I may tell all my bones. They took and stare upon me. They part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture. This is the prophecy of the Messiah's death. Right? So that's the time of sorrows right there, family. Lynch. That's the lynching. This is a lynching here. I know we went through it pretty quick, but that's what we see here, a lynching. We just witnessed a lynching. The Messiah was lynched. We see them doing all kinds of things to try to take his garments and sell it among each other. You know, they paid homage to Odin while they were torturing Christ, bringing drama to the Messiah, Hamashiach, all to bring drama, to humiliate him in front of Yah's people. Come on, family. You can't get no plainer than that. And this is still happening to our people. Show me one group of people that have had to endure what we had to endure. Not one group of people. We can't get around it. We cannot get around it, family. Right? So how long have we been going? All right. Been going a little more than an hour. If you guys want me to continue, hit 1. If you guys want to take a break, type 2. Right? If you want me to continue, type 1. Right? I could go ahead and get into the swine. If you want me to continue with the swine, I could get into that. Or let's see, we could do swine. We could do strange vines, right? We could get into that. Let's see here. We could really go in any direction when it comes to this, the narrative here, right? I could really go into the mistletoe. I could go into those things. I could go deeper into this Christmas tree. I know I gave a little bit of it. I could go into that Christmas tree. I could go into that Yule log. I could go into that type of stuff. So if you guys want me to continue, if you want me to go the route with strange vines, type 1, or just tell me which one you want. Strange vines, or if you want me to deal with the swine. Got some other ones that we could deal with. Saturnalia. So what is you have a choice, family. Strange vines, Saturnalia, or swine. Which one do you want me to do? Just type it in the chat, and we'll go with that one. All right. Matter of fact, I'll take a survey and I'll put it up there, and that way I can see the numbers. Yeah, son, no, I can't do it all. We'll be up here to Christmas of next year. So I'm gonna put a let's see. Let's put it up here. All right. I'm gonna put a survey up here. I'm gonna let you guys vote. We're gonna take a poll. All right. All right, that's not what I want. Let me take this out, and you guys can determine. All right, let's see here. All right. All right, what's next? All right, let's see. Strange vines, swine. Oops, I did it wrong, family. Let's do this again. I'm going to end that poll. I'm going to try one more time. All right, let's try one more time. All right. Strange vines, swine. All right. I guess those are only options. All right. So if you want strange vines, select strange vines. If you want me to deal with swine, deal with swine. If you want me, matter of fact, I'll put Saturnalia. All right, so I'll put this here. So Saturnalia, do you want me to teach the Saturnalia, strange vines, or swine? So if you want me to deal with the Saturnalia, type yes or no. If you want me to deal with strange vines, select which one. Or if you want me to deal with swine, select that. So I'm taking a look at it right now, and whichever one we'll go with the vote. All right. So far, strange vines are in the lead here. All right. So we got over 400 people in the chat right now, and that's watching here. Go ahead and vote. Go ahead and vote. right? You're not voting for political office or anything like that. So I want to make it clear. So we got 56 votes here right now. So 29% want Saturnalia, 49% strange vines, 24% swine, right? So far, we'll give it another 30 seconds. Actually, we'll give it another minute. So what I'm going to do while you guys are voting, I'm going to run and get me something to drink. But in the meantime, I'm going to play a video for you guys while I run and get me something to drink for my voice. Let me go get something right now. So I'm going to play a video clip for you guys to watch, and I will be right back. Let me go and put this up here. Let's see here. Which one do I want to play? All right. I'll play Scientific Adam, right? Let's do that right now.
Finally, Wells comes face to face with the man he's been searching for. A new portrait of the common ancestor of every man today. Adam. Without the skull, we can't know for sure what Adam looked like. But a combination of genetic evidence, vendors' forensic skills, and cutting-edge computer software suggests he looked something like this. Thousands of years after the Bible, and hundreds of years after Michelangelo, we have a whole new face for Adam.
I like the expression. He's got a very forceful look.
You know, he's intent on something, maybe taking over the world. You know, you begin to get perhaps an insight into why these guys won out and why this guy's our ancestor.
All right, so let's see what we have here. Let's see what the tallies here. Let's tally up the votes. All right. So if you guys want a little more time, I'll give you another 30 seconds and we'll get right into it. So far it looks like it's close. The Saturnalia is close. All right, we'll give it another 30 seconds. I'll play one more video and then we'll tally the votes and we'll go from there. All right. Excuse me for making noise in the background. Y'all hear me bringing some stuff on my desk here. So right now it's neck and neck. All right. So let's go ahead and show one more video clip. And we're going to let that be the final. Let's see here. Which one we're going to show here. Which one are we going to show here? I'm going to show a 2-minute clip here. I want to show this full clip here. All right, here we go.
Most Egyptologists and anthropologists, archaeologists of the Eurocentric persuasion will say that Egypt is in Africa. They had to concede that, but then they still draw the line by saying that they weren't Africans like that. In other words, they weren't dark-skinned people. And of course, this is all part of the Great Deception. And the reality is that if they give up Egypt, ancient Kemet, if they give that up and say that that was a part of Black Africa, then they will also have to give up Israel. And that's why they draw the line at Egypt, because if they give up Egypt, they've got to give up Israel.
Now, we're going to go over here, and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is northeast Africa. Now, when we look at this map, this is the Sinai. Okay? This is the Red Sea. This is Egypt. This is the Sinai. This is Israel. All right, this is Saudi Arabia over here. Now, if you see this in Hebrew, it says Haluach Afrikani, the African plate. Here it is right here. Israel is sitting right here. Israel is sitting on the Haluach Afrikani, which means that Israel is northeast Africa.
Without question, we are in northeast Africa. We are landlocked to Egypt, with the exception of the Suez Canal, which was a man-made ditch, a boundary now between, in fact, it's not even really a boundary anymore since Egypt has reclaimed the Sinai Peninsula. But nevertheless, even those of us who are Pan-Africanists in our thinking and Afrocentric, we forget and we leave off that portion of Northeast Africa and don't want to claim anything beyond that.
Europeans classified this area as a Middle East. And then since this the Middle East, the other question, where the Middle West? Where the Middle North and where the Middle South? They don't have no geographical terms like that.
All righty, looking here. Let me make sure my audio is straight. All right, looking here. Looks like Saturnalia won. Okay. Saturnalia came in first place. So let's see how we're going to do this. Actually, you know what? Saturnalia is pretty short. So actually I could do two. Saturnalia is pretty short. So I'm going to do two. So we can still do Saturnalia. All right. We do Saturnalia and we can do strange vines. All right. So we're going to do both of them. All right. Sorry for those that wanted to swine. We'll do swine at another time. I know kind of flowed there, swine another time. All right. Well, we'll do both Saturnalia and we'll do strange vines. So let's go ahead and combine them here. I'm going to close the poll out. All right. I'm going to hit that like and subscribe to the channel. We got over 430 people in the chat right now, or those that are watching. Hit the like and subscribe button. All right. Let me go ahead and bring this lesson over. Bear with me 1 second. We'll start with the Saturnalia. All right. Let me bring this over right now. Let's bring this over right now, and then we'll deal with the other one. I tell you, got a lot of presentations, family. Quite a few. We'll close out with strange vines. All right, but let's see here. Let me bring up the other one. All right, let me get this presentation set. All right. Almost there. All right. Let's see here. All right. Almost there, family. Almost there. All right. There we go. I think I have it set now. All right. Here we go. We're going to deal with strange vines. All right. Let's see here. Almost there. Make sure I got everything in. All right. So let's deal with not strange vines. We'll deal with the Saturnalia, and then we'll deal with strange vines. All right. So here we go. Let's deal with that now. Let's skip over. All right. We're going to deal with Easter. And as you can see in the background here, this is the first church, right? This is actually a compass as well, right? This is a compass to tell time, number things. They had all kinds of human sacrifices, animal sacrifices here. This is the Stonehenge. That is the original church, contrary to what many have been taught. So what is Easter? We want to cover that question. What is the spring equinox? This is the spring equinox, and I'm going to tie it in together why this is important. The spring equinox, either of the two times each year, as about March 21st and also September 23rd, when the sun crosses the equator, and day and night are everywhere on Earth and approximately equal length. So this is where you get into the spring equinox and also the autumn equinox or fall equinox, right? This is important. I'm going to share with you why it's important, right? So the spring equinox, think about the spring equinox. That is the planting of seeds. From a paganistic perspective, this is the planting of seeds. March 21st, right? So remember, March 21st, the spring equinox. That is the planting of the seed. Okay. And we'll tie back to that. So Easter is a movable feast that occurs on the Sunday after the vernal equinox. All right. This is dealing with Easter, not the Passover. I want to make that clear. The Roman Catholics, they established Easter, right, the traditional Easter Sunday, as the festival that commemorates the resurrection of Christ on the third day. But here it is. Friday, Good Friday, is supposed to be the day that he was lynched and gave up the ghost, so to speak. And then a day and a half later, he supposedly had rose on Sunday morning. Even though the Marys went to the sepulchre, he was already gone. How do you get 3 days in a day and a half? Just the math just doesn't work. So when we deal with the etymology dictionary definition of Easter, and just because you see Easter in a translation, because many say, look, it's Easter. He was celebrating, they were celebrating Easter. Look, the translate, it's a transliteration. No, go to the Greek word, and you will not see Easter or Eastre in the Greek. So Easter, Easter Dag, right? Let's see here, Northumbrian Eastre, right? And then when we go here, it says Dawn, also the name of a goddess of fertility and spring. So think about it. Easter, right? Equinox, Easter, equinox, spring, fertility, planting of the seed, March 21st, perhaps originally of sunshine, but it says whose feast was celebrated at the spring equinox, right? It's Astarte, right? Celebrated, she was celebrated at the spring equinox, right? Okay, so Betty says Anglo and the Saxon Christians adopted her name and many of the celebratory practices for their mass of Christ's resurrection, for their mass of Christ's resurrection, for their mass of celebrating that Christ was dismissed, Christ was scattered and replaced. Almost all neighboring languages use a variant of Latin Pascha to name the holiday. It says, see, Pascal, right? Easter egg attests by 1825. Earlier, Pace egg, Easter bunny attested by 1904. And, so it's giving us the history of the Easter egg. So the origins of the word Easter, let's deal with it real quick. Easter was transliterated from the Greek word Pascha, right? Transliterated. So it's not a translation of Pascha, right? And Pascha is a transliteration of Pasach, right? But we see that Easter sounds nowhere near like Pascha, which means Passover. Easter actually derives from the goddess Eastre. She is identified with the Babylonian fertility goddess Ishtar, right? Ishtar, Astarte, they're interchangeable. So here's the ritual honoring Ishtar. In Babylon, like many other ancient pagan cultures, human sexuality was associated with fertility and nature. Temples were erected in Ishtar's honor, and sexual ritualism was associated with the worship of her. Some scholars attested that each year around that time of the spring equinox is the marriage of Ishtar and Tammuz reenacted. This is also similar to when you start getting to Hinduism. When you start dealing with that Kali dance of death, when you start dealing with that hexagram, when you start dealing with the ligam yani, right? Ligam coming together with the yani, right? The male coming together with the female, that is a sexual ritual. That's where you get this so-called Star of David, falls right in alignment with that. So the ceremony consisted of a sexual ritual between the king of Babylon and the high priest of Babylon. It was believed that this union would ensure plentiful crops, right? Sacred prostitution, right? That's what it is, right? So there was also homosexual male prostitutes known as Asenu or Kurgaru and Kalu'u. These devotees of Ishtar was castrated and engaged in lifelong service of men in honor of Ishtar. Let me read that one more time, because this is what when you read the time of the Maccabees, this is what Antiochus was trying to push on the Israelites. And when you read Jeremiah chapter 2, you'll understand this is what Israel was indulging in, right? Israel was indulging in this stuff. And then by the time we get from chapter 2 to chapter 7, they are still indulging in this stuff under every under every green tree, on every high mountain. Israel played the harlot. They was doing this stuff under those trees. By the time you get to Jeremiah chapter 10, now instead of doing these sexual rituals on these outside, on these hills, under these trees, Israel began to do these things under the tree inside their homes. They were bringing these trees inside their homes. And so this is where you start getting those gifts under the Christmas tree from, because those gifts under those trees represent rituals. It represents sexual temple prostitution. That's what it represents. Those homosexuality, not just homosexuality, just perversion, all these sexual perversions that they were doing under that tree that used to be on the outside of the house, but they got so obsessed with it. So now they started bringing it into their homes. All right. Can't get away from it. This is how bad they were. This is how bad Israel had got, how low that they had sunk into during that time. They were also called eunuchs. Let me say that again. These homosexual male, they were also called eunuchs. So this is how when you read Christ, Matthew chapter 19, when he deals with the eunuch, when he's dealing with some that became eunuchs of men because they got castrated and they decided to, live a certain type of lifestyle. But he describes different types of eunuchs: those that became eunuchs of men, those who voluntarily became eunuchs, sexuality, homosexuality, and those that said that they were going to just dedicate their life to the Most High, not engage in any intimacy, not getting married and all that, not having children. So there was 3 different types of eunuchs that Christ dealt with. He dealt with those that were eunuchs because of homosexuality, those that were eunuchs because they bruised their stones. That's what Deuteronomy talks about, having bruised stones, right? That's what it is. A eunuch, someone that's a homosexual, someone that castrated themselves for the sake of being gay. Anyway, so they were called eunuchs. Isaiah 56, verse 3 and 4. Notice what it says here. Neither let the son of the stranger that has joined himself unto Yahweh. But let me fast forward. I want to skip down. Just getting to the dealing with the eunuchs. We see the son of the stranger, right? Matter of fact, let me stay right here. Neither let the son of the stranger that have joined himself to Yahweh speak, saying, Yahweh hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I'm a dry tree, because not having children. A dry tree, because you have different types of eunuchs, but the eunuch that we're dealing with right here is not dealing with a homosexual. This is a eunuch that dedicated themselves to the Most High and decided to say that, or just decided that they weren't going to have children altogether. I'm not even going to say dedicated themselves to the Most High, but they just decided in their life they're not going to get married. But they were not dealing with any type of homosexuality. Because again, bruised stones, that's forbidden. You can't have bruised stones indulging in the life of homosexuality and then call yourself being up in the pulpit. We see a lot of that in Christianity, right? A lot of that in Christianity. A lot of that in Catholicism, homosexuality. Bruised stones, look it up. So dry tree means that this particular eunuch was not indulging in that stuff, but this eunuch here, right, chose not to be married. But the Most High is saying that, hey, for that particular eunuch that decided that they were not going to get married, not have any children, guess what? They could still have that. They could come to the Father. They could come to the Father. And here's the criteria. For thus saith Yahweh to the eunuchs that keep my Shabbats and choose to do things that please me and take hold of my covenant. So you have the 10 commandments, including the 7-day Shabbat. That's the covenant. But then we see Shabbats here. That's the feast days. Keep, execute. That's what keep means. Shamar, means to execute. Okay. So honor of Ishtar and sacred prostitutes. So the worship of Easter eggs is honoring Ishtar. So in addition to the Easter, the name Easter, the symbol, right, the symbols associated with Easter festival also reveal its pagan influence. In paganism, the mundane egg is symbolic of the manifestation of the cosmos. So the egg is also a symbol of rebirth. So now we start to get a better understanding. Remember, March 21st represents the planting of the seed. So the egg itself also is a symbol of rebirth that is associated with various pagan deities, right? So when we get to the Egyptians, right, Seth, and just the Egyptian Seth, right, according to Egyptian mythology, right, their belief system, Seth laid eggs. So the Egyptians hung eggs in their temples. Seth, the Egyptian god of time, supposedly laid an egg. The ancient Greek Orphic traditions, the primordial hermaphroditic god, right? Hermaphroditic god, that means Hermes and Aphrodite, bisexual, transvestism, all that stuff. Hermaphroditic god hatched from an egg and then created the deity. Then when we look at the Chinese myths, Pun Ku Wong, birth from an egg. Notice what it says. The Chinese myth has it that in the beginning was that all was darkness and confusion, but out of a vast egg came a being called Pun Ku Wong. The lower half of the egg, of the shell of the egg, became the earth, and the upper half the heavens. Right? According to Babylonian legends, an egg contained Ishtar fell from the heavens, right, and landed in the Euphrates River. The cosmic egg of an incredible size was pushed ashore by fish and incubated by a dove. Babylon is the roots of Easter egg hunts, right? That's when we get into colored eggs. So Babylon, Easter egg hunts. Colored eggs were also used in honor of Ishtar. So ancient pagans believed that finding Ishtar's egg in nature at the time of her birth will bring forth a blessing. This is where you get the Easter egg hunts. In ancient Anglo-Saxon mythology, the fertility goddess Ostara changed her bird into an egg-laying rabbit, right? So the brightly colored eggs were given as gifts to children. After the rise of Roman Catholicism, the egg became a symbol of the tomb, which Christ was resurrected. That's dealing with Roman Catholicism. They began to bring that egg worship from the Babylonians over, and Christians continued to promote the deceptive pagan custom of painting eggs during the festival of Easter. Continuing with the Peter Cottontail, right? In paganism, the rabbit is a sign of sexual fertility. Ancient pagans believed that finding Ishtar's egg in nature at the time of her rebirth would bring forth a blessing. In ancient Anglo-Saxon mythology, the fertility goddess Ostara changed her bird again into an egg-laying rabbit. So a rabbit can have 4 to 8 litters each year. This is why they chose a rabbit, right? A rabbit can have 4 to 8 litters each year. During its lifespan, a rabbit can potentially produce up to 600 offsprings. It was believed that rabbits had sex indiscriminately and were thus associated with the fertility goddess, and whose honor sexually wanton acts were committed. Rabbits were mainly associated with Ostara and Aphrodite. They were sacred on the altars, and even the consumption of rabbit meat was believed to cure infertility. Well into the 17th century, rabbits, right? You know, that's a rodent, right? Food sacrificed to gods, right? Food sacrificed to gods, just like shrimp, just like pork. So the rabbit, like Easter, is associated with the moon. So rabbits carry her young for a month and lining up with the length of the moon cycle. A new moon was considered masculine and the vanishing moon feminine. Aristotle, right, the Greek philosopher, he believed that the rabbit was male one year and female the next year. So the Roman Catholics are not the only influence on the church and the egg the usage of eggs. They're not the only one using eggs. It's not the Christians, not the only one using eggs. But guess what? Judaism. Our rabbis taught it is permitted to consult by a charm the spirit of oil or eggs, but that they give false answers. Incantations are made over oil contained in a vessel, but not in the hand. Therefore, one may anoint with the latter, but not the former. So they're promoting, just like the church, the usage of Easter eggs, but using eggs for charms. Notice this. This is the footnotes right here. It says, it is noteworthy from the present passage that the Talmud had no faith in these charms, right? But that's not true, because now when we go to the next one, we see here, this states the practice, not a ruling, practice, not a ruling, not disregarded. 19, since it may have been used as a charm. So they use eggs as charms, right? Incantation. Doesn't the scripture teach against that? Yeah, we're going into a family. We're not going to stop right here. Oh, my slide is off right here. Let me fix my slide. Didn't know my slide was off. Gonna have to blame. Didn't see my sister here, Sister Carol here. So Sister Carol, got to blame you for my slide being off. Right? We getting there, family. We getting there. All right. Let me fix this slide. All right. That's what it is. Let me fix this slide. The slide is off. All right. And I'll read the first part of this here. Let's fix the slide. All right. None. Float in. All right. Float out. There we go. That should be better. All right. So let's try this again. Let's read this slide again so that way you guys can see it better. I didn't give all the footnotes here. Right? Footnote 17. Every plant in the vegetable kingdom was believed to have its own presiding genius, which could be provoked by incantations. Right? Goes on to say both eggs and oil were used for purposes of magic and folk medicine. Okay, so that's where you see the continuation of here, 17. All right. Now, what does March 31st in the spring equinox represent? Right? This is what it meant. Actually, it's March 21st. It represents the planting of seeds into the fertile ground. Remember, March 31st, it means the planting of the seed. Right? Planting the seed. That's what March 31st means. Planting the seed. We're not stopping here. We're not stopping here. All right. Here we go. All right. Here we go. So the celebration of Christmas, December 25th. So now let's tie this into the planting of the seed, right? And I'm going to tie this in. Here we go. The planting of the seed, the celebration of Christmas, December 25th. So during the 4th century, there was much argument about adoption of a date. Some favored the popular date of Corian, right? When the divine virgin gave birth to the new Aeon, in Alexander, now called the 12th night or Epiphany. Right? See, family, we got to be careful with these names. You got churches out here calling themselves Epiphany, right? Now called the 12th night or Epiphany. This date is still the official nativity in the Armenian church, right? So the winter solstice, this is where we're going at. Now we get into the meat and potatoes here, right? Tying it in. This is the winter solstice, right? It says here, either of 2 points on the ecliptic at which its distance from the celestial equator is greatest. In other words, now you're going to have more darkness, right? And which is reached by the sun each year by about June 21st and December 21st, right? The difference is in June 21st, you see the opposite. You'll see the more daylight, right? So you see closer. And then when we see December 21st, now we see the distance, further away, right? It was crazy when I was up in Alaska, when I was in the military, man, in the wintertime, you can have 22 hours of sunlight. I'm not, no, in the summer, 22 hours of sunlight. In the winter, 22 hours of darkness. Very depressing, man. I mean, going from one extreme to the other. But again, 21st, that is when summer starts. That is the solstice. You could call it the summer solstice. December, the winter solstice. So now we're going to tie all of this into Solstice in Leviticus. Let's see what this says. Understand the Solstice in Leviticus starts with the understanding of Saturn, right? So to understand the Solstice Leviticus, in Leviticus, it starts with understanding Saturn, right? So what is Saturn? Let's break this down. What is Saturn? What is the Saturnalia? Who is Saturn? Let's see what Saturn is, right? Saturn, Roman name for Cronus, the primitive earth god associated with Great Mother Rhea and credited with her own destroyer function of devouring. What is going on here? Is that my? Sound like I hear a little window sound. Bear with me 1 second, family. All right, thought my computer was getting ready to do the Microsoft updates. I was about to get upset here. So Saturn, Roman name for Cronus, the primitive earth god associated with Great Mother Rhea, and credited with her own destroyer function of devouring her own children. Saturn was the same as the black sun, ACL, and it goes on of Chaldean. Oh, that's what it is. My main laptop is rebooting. And Chaldean astrologers, the Lord of Death at the nadir of the underworld, representing the sun at its lowest aspect in the midwinter solstice. Sometimes he was called Son of Night. At Haran, near Old Edessa, in what is now called Turkey, right? What is now Turkey, Saturn's worship included the wearing of black clothing and burning candles made in incense, opium, goat fat, urine, with the prayer, Lord, whose name is August, whose power is widespread, whose spirit is sublime. O Lord Saturn, this is the prayer. I'm not going to repeat this prayer, but this is that prayer, that this the demonic prayer for Saturn is right here. O Lord Saturn, the cold, right? The dry, the dark, the harmful. So this is getting into all of that, right? Sage, understanding, who causes prosperity or ruin. This is that prayer. So it goes on to say, as a rule, the Lord of Death was both both a god and a demon. Let me say that again. As a rule, the death of the Lord of Death was both a god and a demon. Like Shiva, the destroyer, he was the negative side of the sun, a summer sun, propitiated in midwinter, so he might allow spring to come again. This important festival became the Roman Saturnalia. Let me read this again. As a rule, the Lord of Death was both a god and a demon. Like Shiva the destroyer, he was the negative side of the summer sun, propitiated in midwinter, so he might allow spring to come again. This important festival became the Roman Saturnalia, which contributed many of its customs to Christmas. Come on, family. You can't get away from this. You can't get around this. Can't get around it. At Saturn's festival, death and atonement were featured, as well as joyous celebrations of the sun's new birth, right? So this, again, just reiterating this important festival became the Roman Saturnalia, which contributed many of its customs to Christmas, right? The dismissal of Christ. So going back here to Saturn gave his name to Saturday. Saturn gave his name to Saturday, the Sabbath of the week's end before the coming of the new sun on Sunday. In other words, Latin Dies Soli, right? To the Jews, this was the seventh day when God rested, right? When the Most High rested. Like Saturn's quiescent rather, and dark before the sun rose again, Saturn was identified with the seventh planetary sphere, whose astrological influence. So this is what we got to understand, family. Before I go on, this is why when you start really studying Moses, the Torah, you notice Moses did not mention names of month. Abib is a season, not a name of a month. You'll notice that Moses, when he named months, it was always saying the first month, the second month, the third month, the fourth month, fifth month, sixth month, the seventh month, on and so on. Likewise, when he dealt with the days of the week, first day of the week, second day of the week, third day of the week. Because why? These names have meaning. These names have meaning. So Saturday is connected to Saturn. Okay. So what is Christmas? We breaking this down. Here's Christmas. For its first 3 centuries, and I'm going to say this again, for the first 3 centuries, the Christian church knew no birthday for its Savior. Let me say this again, because I mean, it's hard to get through to some of these people when it comes to these Christians with these holidays, right? It's hard to get to them, right? But let me say this again. For the first 3 centuries, right? For the first 3 centuries, the Christian church knew no birthday for its Savior.
What?
Again, for its first 3 centuries, the church knew no birthday for its Savior.
What?
I'm going to say it in slow mo tonight. During the 4th century, there was much argument about adoption of a date, right? Some favored the popular date of Corion, when the Divine Virgin gave birth to the new Aeon in Alexandria, now called 12th night or Epiphany. This date is still the official date, and I covered that official nativity in Armenian church. And celebrated with more pomp than Christians by the Greek Orthodox, right? So Roman churchmen favored the Mithraic winter solstice festival called the Dies Natalius, in other words, Solis Invictus. So the Roman Catholic Church, right, the Roman churchmen, they favored the Mithraic winter solstice. That's where we get, this date, far as the church is using this date to celebrate the birth of Christ, right? What is called the birthday of the unconquered sun, right? So the unconquered sun, what does this mean? Blended with the Greek sun festival of the Helia by the Emperor Aurelian, this December 25th nativity also honored such gods as Attis, Dionysus, Osiris, Syrian Baal, and other versions of the solar Son of Man, who bore such titles as Light of the World, Son of Righteousness, S-U-N of Righteousness, of course, and Savior. Most pagan mysteries celebrated the birth of the divine child at the winter solstice. So this is where you have to understand, most pagan belief systems, they celebrate the birth of their divine child, their Messiah, at the winter solstice. And this is what the Roman Catholic Church did. They took these practices and incorporated it, meshed it, and this is where you start getting into what is called syncretism. They began to take our holy word, take our culture, our heritage, and mesh it with these with their practices that they didn't want to give up. Because remember, you're dealing with Romans, you're dealing with Greeks that had a culture, and many of them did not want to give up their culture. When you start understanding Constantine, the first Constantine, he did not want to give up all of what his culture. He began to mesh things together. So most pagan mysteries celebrated the birth of the divine child at the winter solstice. Norsemen celebrated the birthday of their lord, Frey, at the nadir of the sun in the darkest days of winter, known to them as Yule. The night of birth, Christmas Eve, was called Mod Renek, right? Latin, Matrum Noctem, the night of the mother, originally a greater festival than Christmas Day. So early in the 4th century, the Roman Church adopted the December 25th because the people were used to calling it a God's birthday. Let me say that again. In the early church, in the early in the 4th century, the Roman Church adopted December 25th because the people, right, their people were used to calling it a God's birthday. Why? Because they, again, like I pointed out, many different, their belief system, the Roman belief system, and other belief systems, they used the 25th as being the birth of the Messiah, their deities. But Eastern churches refused to honor it until 375 AD. They refused to honor it, but once 375 AD kicked in, things shifted. It says the fiction that some records exist in the land of Jesus' alleged birth certainly could not be upheld, for the Church of Jerusalem continued to ignore the official date until the 7th century. So here it is. They would not use that date up until the 7th century. But up to the 7th century, something happened at the 7th century that caused them to shift, right? So most pagan mysteries celebrated the birth of the so-called divine child at the Solstice Invictus, right? So Norsemen celebrated the birthday of their Lord Frey, at the nadir of the sun in the darkest winter, which is known to them as the Yule. So December 25th, the winter solstice, it represents, family, guess what it represents? I just gave you the answer. Guess what it represents? 9 months later represents the rebirth, or represents the birth. So March is the planting of the seed, March 21st. 9 months later, right, represents the birth. That's why it's 9 months. Now you dealing with, right, the paganism. This is why the Roman Catholics chose this date. Can't get away around it, right? 9 months later represents the birth of a pagan Messiah, right? So there you have it, family. We covered it. We got the solstice out of the way, right? And it's one more. What was the other one? Let's see here. I think the other one was strange vines. All right, we're going to do the strange vines since we got through the solstice. All right, let's see here. All right, man, it's 2:00 in the morning. I'll see if I can get through it, family. If not, we may have to just continue this a little later on in the day. Let's see here. We'll do some of it, and I'll open it up for those that want to come in and give a comment. Let's see here. Where is it? 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 Let me close this Saturnalia. Let's see here. Strange vines. Yeah, we can't do all the strange vines, family. It's a pretty lengthy presentation. We'll do some of it. All right, we will do some of it because it's definitely a lengthy presentation. All right. All right, let's see here. All right, let me get my slide here together. All right, let me hit the mute button so that way I can put some fluid in my throat. But let me modify this real quick. All right. All right, so we got that. All right, so we good. All right, I got this set. All right, we'll deal with some of the this plant here. It's a lot to cover. It is a lot to cover. Let me see where we are here. Yeah, it's a lot to cover. We'll do some of it, family, but we're not gonna be able to do it all. All right, but let me clear my throat. Let me clear my throat. All right, let's go ahead and continue. We'll do a little of it, family, but we can't do it all. Definitely can't do it all. All right. Which one did I update? Let's see here. All right. Let me make sure I got it set here. Yeah, we'll do some of it. Some of this is overlapping, but we'll do some of it. Let's start right here. Let's start right here. Let's deal with the strange vines. All right. Let's deal with strange vines. All right. And I'm gonna drop the link in the comment section for anyone that want to jump on. I see you, Don. I'll bring you on once I get through some of this. All right. Let me drop this link here. Family, hit the like, subscribe to the channel, share this link. And that's the key, family. You have to share the link. Share the link. This is how we get the word out. If you have a YouTube channel, share it. If you have a Facebook page, share the link. Right? Just like how our goal every time we go live, we want to have at least reach that threshold of 500 likes on each video. And we should be able to get at least 100 shares on the video as well to get that word out there, family. And that does a lot to the algorithms as well of YouTube. All right. So let's go and get into it, and then we'll open up here. All right. Let's see here. Someone said that they're trying to give, but my Cash App is wrong. No, my Cash App should be correct here. Let me see here. Yeah, that's the right Cash App. All right. Not sure what's going on with it. All right. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into it. All right. The mistletoe. I covered some of this when I dealt with the Nicolaitans, when I dealt with the previous lesson. But let's really deal with this, the mistletoe. Right? Why did it change? Let me make sure that there's nothing crazy going on here as well. All right, let me double check here. Sometimes I do a lot of recording, so let me make sure that there's nothing going on here. All right. Okay, I must have hit it by accident. Okay, let's deal with the mistletoe, family. The devil's fuge, right? We covered this a little bit, but let's go to give clarity to the mistletoe. This is coming from CBS News. 7 surprising. Yeah, something is going on here. Let me clear out something real quick because my presentation is going in auto mode. All right, let me do something real quick. Let me stop this presentation. All right, and let me fix this here. Let me do it all. Why is it auto? All right. That's weird. Let me try it now. Okay. All right, let's try it now. Because, yeah, I think I had some, when I did this a while back and I did the presentation. All right, let's try it here. Some of this, some of this I could take out. All right, but let's go ahead and get going. Apologies for the delay, family. Not trying to delay to prolong the time, but, I'm very, very picky when it comes to my lessons. I like to make sure my lessons is presented a certain way. All right, let me get back to my point. All right, so let's share this again. Let's try this again. All right, let's start it here. All right, so let's unshare this here. Stop the stream. All right. Let's see if this works. So I won't have any technical difficulties. Make sure we don't have any technical difficulties. All right, let's try it again. Here we go. That should do it. That should do it. All right. So the mistletoe is all about holiday romance, right? It says this here, surprising facts. Think mistletoe is all about holiday romance. Think again. The festive plant, which also goes by the name devil's fuge, holds some sinister secrets. Number one, the mistletoe is a parasite. People don't know this mistletoe is a parasite. Mistletoe is an evergreen pest that attaches itself to trees, plants, shrubs, stealing their nutrients and water. This can weaken or disfigure the host plant and eventually kill it. The mistletoe main branch comes from the Druids, right? It was derived from Babylon, was a representation of the Messiah, their Messiah, right? The branch. The mistletoe was regarded as a divine branch, in other words, a branch that came from heaven and grew upon a tree that sprung out of the earth. So the engrafting of the celestial branch and the earthly tree, heaven and earth, that sin has severed, were joined together. And thus the mistletoe main branch became the token of divine reconciliation to man, and the kiss, the well-known token of pardon and reconciliation, right? So this is showing you how the kiss under the mistletoe became a tradition, right? The kiss being the well-known token of pardon and reconciliation. So where did they get this idea from? Right? I'm going to show you Psalms, the 85th book of Psalms, verse 10 and 11, because you'll see here, it says, mercy and truth are met together, righteousness and peace have kissed each other. Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from the heaven. Right? So a lot of these cultures, they take some of the stuff from the scriptures and twist it around for their culture. So more facts about the mistletoe. Once it affects a tree, mistletoes are difficult to remove. When its seeds sprout, they grow through the bark of the tree in their tissue, extending up and down within the branch. Eating any part of the plant can cause drowsiness, blurred vision, diarrhea, nausea, because the mistletoe is poisonous. So again, eating any part of the plant could cause drowsiness, blurred vision, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, weakness, seizures. The symptoms are caused by a poisonous ingredient called phorotoxin, which is found in all parts. So let's go to Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 20 and 21. Notice what it says here. For old time I have broken thy yoke and burst thy bands, and thou sayest, I will not transgress. But notice this here. The Most High is saying that he took Israel out of bondage, took them out of captivity multiple times, right? And Israel said, while they were in the midst of their bondage, that they will not transgress, they will not bend, twist the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High ever again. They would not do it. But then it says here, right? They said one thing, but as soon as they got the opportunity, when upon every high hill and under every green tree, thou wanderest, playing the harlot. So Israel said they won't do this again. But as soon as the Most High hooked them up and, things look good for them, they began to go right back into this thing of idol worshiping again, playing the harlot. Notice what it says, like I shared earlier, upon every high hill, under every green tree, thou wanderest, playing the harlot. Yet I planted thee a noble vine, holy, a right seed. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? So the mistletoe is a degenerate plant. It is a strange vine, right? It is a parasitical plant. right? So Israel went from being a noble vine to a degenerate plant. Why? Because they're parasites. Israel became to become parasites, clinging to all kinds of cultures that's contrary to the scriptures, getting caught up to, getting tossed to or fro by every wind of doctrine. Do you know a lot of us, a lot of our people, right, are what? Mistletoes. They're nothing but parasites, man. We can't think for ourselves. We got to always attach ourselves to something. We can't think outside of the things that our slave masters have put on us. Many of us can't get away from that. We got to stop this. We got to stop this. We got to get away from this. Yet I have planted thee a noble vine, wholly a right seed. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant, a strange vine, a mistletoe? Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 1 through 4 is going to confirm what I just read. These are the statutes, right? Chak yam, and judgments, mashapat yam, which ye shall observe to do in the land, which Yahweh Elohim of thy fathers giveth thee to possess it, all the days that ye live upon the earth. Ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their Elohims upon the mountains and upon hills and under every green tree. Look at this again. Ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their Elohim, serve their deities under upon the high mountains, upon the hills, and under every green tree. So all the other cultures, this is part of their culture. This is part of their belief system. On every high mountain, upon all the hills, under every green tree, they were playing the harlot. They was doing all kinds of sexual rituals, and Israel began to embrace that. And ye shall overturn their altars, and break their pillars, and burn their groves with fire, and ye shall hew down the graven images of their Elohims and destroy the names of them out of that place. Here's the Hebrew definition of groves, right? Asherah, right? But that's what it is. Asherah, or Astarte, a Phoenician goddess, also an image of the same grove. But here's the kicker: sacred trees. Okay, that Christmas tree, under every green tree played the harlot. So the people were like prostitutes who refused the yoke and restrictions of Yah's commandments. They refused to obey Yah's laws that prohibited idolatry and sexual immorality. When the people turned to false gods, they were unfaithful to Yah. They committed spiritual adultery against him. They forsook Yah and gave themselves over to the worship of false deities. The Israelites even constructed altars and worship sites on every high hill and under every huge tree along the roadways throughout the nations, right? They were performing fertility rites. In other words, phallic worship were usually practiced at these altars, which means that the priests and priestess, right, at these sites were religious prostitutes. Go figure, right? They were available for the worship, seeking a fruitful harvest through the act of sex, which symbolized the bringing forth of life, production, and fruitfulness. So Israel turned into a degenerate plant, a strange vine. We already know who's the true vine. I'm not going to get into all of this. You guys know who's the true vine, because Christ says here, I'm the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away, and every branch that beareth fruit, he purges it, that it may bring forth more. So we know that the Messiah is the true vine. All right, abide. Yashab means to sit down, dwell, remain. All right, so again, I'm not going to get into this, right? The tree of life, not going to get into this, right? We are just for the sake of time. Let me fast forward. All right. So again, every Christmas tree, represents an altar. That's why I wanted to say that again. Every Christmas tree represents an altar. So in Jeremiah 2, Israel performed sexual rituals on every high hill under every green tree. That's what that Christmas tree represents, family. Altars of sexual perversions, right? Temple prostitution. Israel performed sexual rituals under every green tree in their homes. Every high hills that had a green tree on it, it was used for prostitution as an altar for sexual prostitution. An altar was built to who? The Queen of Heaven, the spirit of manipulation. So when we go to Leviticus chapter 18, verse 21, and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch, neither shalt thou profane the name Hashem of Allahayim, I am Yahweh. So let's deal with the man branch, and we're not going to go too further with this because it is getting kind of late. I'm getting kind of tired with, my voice is getting a little strained, but I want to close out with a couple of final thoughts here, and then we'll open it up for those that want to jump in. Man branch, the Yule log. A farther confirmation and illustration of these facts is found in the custom of the Christmas Yule log. The word Yule is the Chaldee term for an infant or little child. Let me say that again. The word Yule is the Chaldee term for an infant or little child. And hence, it was that Christmas day was called among the heathens Yule Day or the Child's Day, and the night before Christmas, Mother Night. So family, that Yule log that many burnt leading into Christmas, right? That Yule log represents a child, right? Yule Day or the Child's Day. The word Yule is the Chaldee term for an infant or child. And the night before Christmas, Mother Night. That's why they call it Christmas Eve, right? Eve, the mother, right? Or age before the birth of Christ. And this entirely accounts for the putting of the Yule log into the fire on Christmas Eve and the appearance of the tree the next morning as zero Ashtah. In other words, zero in Israel, in Hebrew is Zara, which means seed. So seed Ashtah, which means the seed of the woman, which name also signified Inagina, or born of the fire. He has to enter the fire on Mother Night. Doesn't it sound like initiation? Enter to the fire on Mother Night. So this is why you see the Yule log being thrown inside the fireplace on what is called Christmas Eve. Eve, mother of life, right? On Mother Night, that he may be born the next day out of its branch, out of it as the branch of God, or the tree that brings all divine gifts to men. But why, it may be asked, does he enter the fire under the symbol of a log? So to understand this, it must be remembered. So in a nutshell, right? Again, why does he have to enter into the fire under the symbol of a log? I'm going to answer that question, right? Yule log, the child day, worship of the serpent. So again, we covered this portion here about the Yule log, right? Chaldean term for infant. So Yule, when you see that fire burning with that log in it, that represents sacrifice. That is human sacrifice, sacrificing the children. So guess what? Santa Claus has replaced Yah. When you start understanding this Christmas thing, people put more credence into, more fear into Santa Claus. Teach their children to fear Santa Claus more than the Most High, right? Notice this song here, right? Matter of fact, you know what, family? Let me see how much I got to go here. I got a while to go here, family. I'm gonna go about 5 more minutes. Then we're gonna stop it here, and then I'll drop the link. Bring Don in and whoever else want to come in because I'm tired. But November 1934, John Frederick Coots and Haven Gillespie, they're the ones that created the song "Santa Claus is Coming to Town," and this is how they worship Santa Claus. Notice what it says. You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. Let me say that again. You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. So you better watch out. You better not pout. Well, Numbers chapter 14, verse 26 through 27. And Yahweh spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, how long shall I bear with this evil congregation which murmur against me? I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, which murmur against me. Right? So they treating Santa Claus as if Santa Claus is Yahweh. Hebrew definition of murmur: to stop, to stay permanently, to obstinate, grudge. Okay? So the etymology dictionary definition of murmur: expression of popular discontent or complaint by grumbling. So when we go to Matthew chapter 12, verse 36, notice what it says. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give an account thereof in the day of judgment. Doesn't that sound like Santa Claus? He knows when you are sleeping. He knows when you are awake. He knows if you've been good or bad or good. So be good for goodness sake, right? He knows if you've been good or bad or good. Where's that coming from? Matthew 5, verse 16. Let your light shine so before men that they may see your good work and glorify the Father which is in heaven. So Santa Claus is not all seeing, all knowing, and everywhere. Santa is the face of Hasatan, Hashatan, right? Santa Claus, Shatan, right? Santa Claus, Santa, Shatan, all seeing, all knowing. No, he's not all seeing. He's not all knowing, can't be everywhere at the same time. Right? We see a confirmation of this in Job 1:7. Notice what it says. And Yahweh said it to Satan, whence comest thou? Satan answered, Yahweh. And he said, from going to and fro in the earth and walking up and down it. So he's not everywhere at the same time. So why does Santa come down the chimney and travel at night? Why does he come down the chimney and travel at night? Well, we're going to answer with scripture. 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 7. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of Yahweh so cometh as a thief in the night. Right? 12:36, Matthew 12 and 36. Actually 24 and 36. But of the day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So who was or is Santa Claus? Is he Saint Nicholas? Right? Is he Saint Nicholas? But family, we're going to stop right here, right? I said I would, I got 2 more minutes. All right, I said I would go 5 minutes. I got 2 more minutes. So Saint Nicholas also inherited the poisoned and popular title, the Sailor, right? Notice what this is, the original Odin right here. Saint Nicholas, a bogus saint, evolved from the pagan sea god who replaced Artemis as patron of sailors and harlots. Temples of Poseidon became shrines of Saint Nicholas, who also inherited Poseidon's popular title, the Sailor. So remember Nicholas, Nicolaitans. See how it still ties in? Nicholas' Christian name was the same name as Old Nick or Holt Nickar, or Teutonic sea god, known as the king of the Nixies, right? As sea nymphs. Nicholas was also equated with Woden, as European deities, pagan deities, were Christianized. As the benevolent aspect of Woden became Saint Nicholas, in other words, Santa Claus, who galloped over housetops during the winter solstice, as the elder god did, granting boons to his worshipers. In Italy, Saint Nicholas supplanted a female boon-giving deity called the grandmother, or the Pasqua Epiphania, right? Epiphania, excuse me for mispronouncing the word. So Pasqua or Epiphania or Befana, who used to fill the children's stockings with gifts. Right, but it goes on to say, Christian sailors carried the saint's image out to sea, or the feast day as pagan sailors formerly carried the images of the sea god or goddesses. All right. And it says here, let me go back. Oops, messed up. In the 11th century AD, installed in a church built at Bari to house them and labeled the bones of St. Nicholas. Right? So we're going to stop right here, family. We're going to stop right here. Went a lot longer than what I anticipated with that, but we're going to stop right here. All right. I'm going to post this link one more time. We're going to go for about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. Not going to go too long. If anyone want to jump in real quick, feel free to do so. All right, let me see here. Let me remove this comment here. All right, let's see what Don has. I see Don here. Let me see if he's still there. What's going on, Don?
What's up, my brother?
Doing a little overtime.
Pastor Kelly, I know you all. You know what, Pastor Kelly? You need to stop because you always overtime. That's how you get down. You just be overtime, brother, because it's too much information. You know, you loving on your people, and you know, you be trying to give them everything. You be trying to give them everything. I had to turn my monitor off so I could make sure I had no feedback, so I can't hear myself. But wow, in that brief moment that you spoke, you, brother, you covered so much doctrine that people have to go back and look at it to get a greater understanding. So I would encourage, I was trying to do it on the fly before we got up, Pastor. But the 7 churches that the Most High, Yahushua HaMashiach, spoke about, he talked about the Nicolaitans. And I was trying to get into that within Revelation so I could point it out to the people, because that's very, very significant in terms of what they believed. But also, you know, the things that have been eliminated from us. And I'm gonna bring this text out right here. This is from the Ahava. Okay? And this is the Argraph to the Philadelphians. This is a epistle from Ignatius to the church at Philadelphia, and that goes back into what I was talking about when you look into the revelations of Yahushua Mashiach. The churches, the 7 churches that he mentioned, this church of Philadelphia is really, really interesting. And the epistle that Ignatius wrote to them. See, now Ignatius was before the 4th century, and that was before all the councils of these evil ass Romans, the small cap cats. And you know, when you understand the overall message of the Church of Philadelphia, or the called out assembly in Philadelphia, and you understand what the meaning of Philadelphia is, man, ooh-wee. Be not deceived, brother. Anyone who follows him that makes a schism in the Kodashim, or called out assembly, he shall not inherit the kingdom of Yahuwah.
And one key thing, my brother, a point I want to add too, because what people fail to realize, not saying you, but many people don't realize when you're reading those letters to those 7 churches, right? Or assembly. I don't like to say church, but
Called out.
assembly, because as we're
Yeah.
dealing with the people of Israel, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the Most High is addressing the angel of the house, which is the leader of the house.
Exactly.
And he's dealing with the doctrines of the Nicolaitans, right? That's the Babylonian doctrine. Now they're bringing this stuff back before the people, right? Same thing with when he got on them about some of the different assemblies about what's her name, Jezebel. Saying, hey, I gave her opportunity to repent and she didn't, and you guys still giving her opportunities, right? So what's interesting is, right, you have the angel of the house deceiving the people.
Come on now.
Right? Nicolaitans, right? Nick, N-I-C.
Come on now,
is
quit playing.
equivalent
See,
to,
that's what you be doing, Pastor Kelly. Stop playing with the people.
right? So
Get
now
there.
peep this,
Get
right?
there. Get there.
Nick, right? Nick, right? Now, Nick is interchangeable from N-I-G, Nig.
Oh, see, now
So
you didn't hit
Nig is
below
the
the belt.
short form of Negas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. Come
When
on
you want
now,
to
stop playing.
understand, for example, Nicodemus, right? You don't see the definition of Nicodemus in the concordances and all of that. You know why? Because just his name alone tell you that Nicodemus was a melanated person. He's a brother man. Nick, remember what I said? Interchangeable with Nig, short form of Nig.
Hey, Pastor Kelly,
Hold on.
let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you real quick.
Hold up.
Let me.
I can't.
Because you said Nick.
Let me
You
finish
said Nick.
Right?
Okay.
Nig, right? Then you
We'll get back to it. We'll get back to it.
Right. So Nig plus Dominus, right? Because Nicodemus, Dominus, that means that he's a leader. And Nicodemus was a leader. So when we look at what Christ said, beware of wolves in sheep's clothing, because they're going to look just like you. They're going to look just like us. They're going to look like what? Niggas. So guess what? When you look at the Nicolaitans, who's bringing the deception to the people? It's the angel of the house. The angel of the house is bringing the deception to the people, to their own people. And that's why the Most High is getting on them like, you're bringing this deception to your own people. You selling out your own people, niggas, right? So Nicolaites means destruction of, it means a destruction of people. So we could say the true song that ties into this is self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction because we're bringing this stuff to our own people. Anyway,
PK,
go ahead. Let's say what you can say.
PK, check this out. And I'm glad you brought the Nick out. Because Sunday, they would have a picnic. And then in your presentation, you were talking about the scramble for body parts. And so, man, folks don't even realize the gravity of what you brought out from the title of the study to what you're actually talking about. Because me right now, when you started talking, I was like, wait a minute. I just read a bunch of this stuff. And our folks won't have any idea about what I'm talking about because they stuck on 66. I'm sitting here looking at this here, and I'm reading this Mazora of Ignatius, who is no more than 3rd century, and he's talking to the house of Philadelphia. He's talking to the church of Philadelphia. He's talking to the church that you can see in the revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach. And he's telling them these things. And none of them are contrary to what has been spoken. Man, we have been deprived by so much. We have so much to learn, Yasharel. When I say Yasharel, it's like the two branches being bind back to one. That's us and our people on the continent. Our folks don't even understand. That little raggedy ass strip of land don't have no milk or no honey. It is the continent that has all the milk and all the honey, and that's where we belong. These folks, listen, the word is true. These folks have deceived you to believing that this little parchment is what it is and all it is. And that's not the case. Listen, our home, let me put it to you like this. The milk and the honey of the world, that's our home. That's the only landmass that could encompass the total of the two branches. These folks have lied to you. We are at war. If you don't realize that, you're silly little girls. We're at war. We're at spiritual right now. And guess what, fam? It's about to become physical. It's about to become physical. And guess what? The game don't jump off until the lion's whelp comes up out of the thicket. I.e., the game don't jump off until Yehuda shakes off this silliness and realizes who they are, which is the lion's whelp. Go back to Genesis. When Yaakov was naming all of the sons, we are the lion's whelp. The other 11 ain't gonna move without us. And the lion's whelp was put on ships. Okay?
And one interesting thing about the lion's whelp, right? That is a baby lion trying to learn how to roar.
Come on, baby.
When you read the scriptures, right? That's the baby lion learning how to roar.
What was the movie, baby?
That's the
what was the
Lion
movie,
King.
Doc? What was the movie? Come on, Doc. Come on, Doc.
So, you know,
yes.
And just because I like to share sources, let me share this real quick for those that are watching, because what I said about the word nig and nick, let me just show this real quick. I got it up on the screen because I don't like to just put something out there without showing the source, a couple of sources. So this is coming from Leslie Debunking the Facts on File, Dictionary of First Names, page 205. Notice this. Neil, Irish genitive Neal, from Nead, in other words, champion. The name was Latinized as Nigellus, right? Nigellus, doesn't that sound familiar? Almost like Nicholas. So that it was later thought to derive from Latin niger, in other words, black. But notice what it goes on to say. The Latin form also led to the variant Nigel or Nagal, or Nigel rather. In the 19th century, Neil was predominantly a Scottish name used sporadically in the rest of Britain, but only became, I messed up with my animation. Let me put it here. It is what it is. Oh, popular in the 1950s. So this is giving you history on that. And then it gives you some
Hey,
different variations. Notice what you see here. You see
hey, Doc.
Nicholas right here, right?
Hey, Doc.
But
You,
let me get
you,
this one
you
source. I'm
pointed
gonna
out.
bring it
Wait,
on
wait.
right
You
here.
pointed out something. You pointed out something in your source
Yeah,
that was
hold on,
very
hold on.
important that
Let
most
me
people
show one more
would have
thing.
missed. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
let
I'm
me
gonna
show
come
one more
back on
thing.
you. I'm gonna let me back on you.
What do you see right here? Where my mouse is. You see NIGG, right? Nig. And what's
Mm-hmm.
next to it?
Oh, I'm on two different screens, so I can't
You
really
can't
see
see it?
it.
Okay. So family that's watching, y'all see here, you see NIGG, which is Nig. Next to it is Nicholas. You see NIGGL, Nigo. You see Nicholas. So you see the different variances of the short form of niggas. You see Nig, which is equivalent to Nicholas. Just what I was pointing out, right? So that word Nig is and Nick are interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
Nick,
oh, 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 oh! You just brought out something.
so that's why I just wanted to share it a little bit for the people that are watching.
You just brought out something, Doc. Hey, what did they do on Sunday after church? What did
Well,
they do?
I would tell you when I was in the Baptist,
In
it was
America, in America, in America,
when
in
I was in
America.
church, we didn't. There was no such thing as after
No, not
Sunday.
you, not you. What did they do?
I'm talking about with the during slavery, the
Them
picnics.
folks, them
Talking about,
folks.
go break it
Pick,
down, man.
pick a nick. What you just said.
Exactly.
Pick a nick.
Further proving that Nick and Nig are interchangeable.
Interchangeable. I forgot I'm on camera, so I got to moving around because I got so excited about what you just said. I was just like, oh my goodness, does PK just even know what he just said?
So hey,
This is so retarded.
real quick, Don. Let me see what New Being is here. Let me hear what New Being had to say. Then I'll let you
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
you guys say a couple
I'm
some
gonna
last
go
words.
black. I'm gonna go black.
All right. New Being, how are you? Mute yourself, New Being.
Blessed Pastor. Thank you so much. We just the family's just here listening in and thanking you for the edification as usual. Um, but no, as the brethren have said, as you've been reasoning, I mean, just the history, the lynching history, it just dawned on me that again, my family's from the Caribbean. So we're from IT, but it just really dawned on me just the sheer fear of what was going on, especially with African American families here during that time of Christmas. You feel me? I
Yeah.
mean, considering a lot of our ancestors, and especially African American people who didn't go by way of the islands first, who came here, or even those who came from islands, migrated here. But let's just think early on, slave trade. We were the merchandise. So can you imagine what Black Fridays really look like? I mean, now just even thinking of Black Friday and that the rush and the frenzy for product, it just really dawns on me like how terrifying that had to have been for a lot of our um, ancestors coming here to the West, whether in Europe, whether in the Caribbean, whether in Americas, because we were that product. And then here in America with the lynching and like the brethren mentioned, that picnic.
Mom!
Okay, sweetie
Can
pie.
I buy a little chocolate from the store?
Yeah, maybe. All right, that's all I wanted to say, Pastor. You hear my little one. He's not feeling too well, wanting some chocolate. So we're just gonna stop right there. But
Sure.
give thanks. Thank you, Pastor. He's not feeling well, so pray for my little one over here. Thank you.
Well, appreciate you for listening, and just to the point that you was making about what we were dealing with, as a people, and especially here with the lynchings, and just the things that many can't even really wrap their head around to really think of just how bad it was, and it's still bad now. But but just think about the times of our older generations that preceded us, the horrors that they had to go through. you know, my grandmother, my uncle, they would tell me stories about them witnessing lynchings down in Georgia, and things that you would never imagine, and it's kind of made sense to why they had certain ways about them. You know, when you start looking at the generation like our grandmothers, my grandmother, she was born in the she was born in the early 1900s, like I believe it was closer to like 1901, because when she died, they said she was at least 10 years older than what she was, and she was 92 on record. But during that time, they did a terrible job with keeping the record of the people at that time, especially coming from down there. So the things that they saw, just seeing lynchings, and you know, at a young age, and the horror and the traumatic, the trauma that just that in itself, and some of the things that many of our generations had to deal with, because many of our older generations had suffered PTSD, if you want to call it that, and a lot of their behavior, as far as even how they discipline, was a reflection of what they was subjected to. So it's a lot that we had to deal with, especially when it comes to us as a people, the mental scars, and people don't even realize that traumatic experiences changes your DNA. If you want to hack into someone's DNA, traumatize them, and they knew this. So that's why they came up with a 300-year plan to make sure that our seeds will fear them. Our seed will have generational curses on them, that will have strongholds from the previous generation, not just one generation, but we're talking 10 generations past at least. So really appreciate it, sister. Anything else you want to share? I know you had to mute out because of your son.
Well, thank you so much. I hope that perhaps later on.
Still there, sis? Sound like you clicked out.
I don't know, perhaps next time you can touch on the Ethiopian calendar. I know you mentioned that, or maybe some of the listeners can fill us in on that. Because I know you mentioned the Enoch calendar, but I don't know if you know, in the Ethiopian calendar they celebrate. Some people call it the Ethiopian Christmas, but there's another name for it. But have you heard of that on January 6th? And, if you can touch upon it, then if you find out more information. Could you hear me?
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you. You're kind of breaking up, but yeah, I'll touch on it. The Ethiopian calendar. I'll definitely touch on that. And I may incorporate that with dealing with New Year's next week. But yes, it sounds like you're getting a very bad connection here.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, Pastor, and appreciate your studies and your edification.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the love and support. Appreciate you.
Blessing.
That was bad. That was really bad.
Well, she said she's in the Caribbean, so the connection sometimes can be really.
Exactly,
so,
Pastor.
Hey, sometimes my connection go crazy, and I got high speed right here up under my desk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that was bad.
No, but it happens. It happens.
Yeah. Because we're everywhere, and we have to remember this. And this has been a theme of the day, because you had it going earlier, and I was like, yep. The prince of the power of the air has been hitting everybody's airwaves in terms of vocalization today. I've been I've been on I don't know if it says ScrewTube, but I've been on the internet today, and everyone has had problems with their transmission. I don't know if it's just today or ScrewTube or the date we're on, but everyone has had an interference with their transmission today. It doesn't matter. So, welcome to the party. Hey, you're part of the club, because from you, TCA, Watchmen, everybody has had problems with their audio today on the lives. So I think y'all on the right track. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, any final thoughts you want to share, Don? Because I'm about to take it down. It's 3 a.m. on my end. So
yeah. No. You know what, PK? I appreciate you. And in the new year, we're gonna have your back end. So you can go to sleep and we're gonna pick it up. L7 Media is ready to push forward on what the agenda is for our people. Man, you've been doing awesome work. And that's why the Most High has led me to you. This is really interesting. I just want to say this real quick. The Most High has, over the last 2 years, led me to the people on these ScrewTube streets or social media that are all family. I didn't get to PK through searching and or suggestions. I got to PK through my family. Okay? He came through family. Y'all gotta understand family, because in these last days, guess what it's gonna be about? It's gonna be about family. And not everybody that claims they ain't gonna be family. They're not gonna be family. And I just need to say it like this, because I don't want to give you any other filter to put it through. You're gonna know their family by the way that you're treated. And the Ruach HaKodesh is going to be that filter to let you know how you're being treated as family. And Pastor, I'm gonna land my plane there, because I know our time is short, and I love you, man. And I'll see you on the next one, man. I'll see you on the next one. I thank you for. Hey, I'm with you in 2023. Let's hook up, because these later nights are very, very important. It seems like the slant is all East Coast time, and then it dies out. And this live that you put together, brother, we need this. We need this. We starving out here after the lights out on the East Coast. So let's get it. Let's get it, man. Let's get it. Let's get the truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey
Yeah,
Don,
I
anyone you
love
want
you,
to put
dog.
inside the garbage can before you drop off?
I saw this raggedy ass.
Oh, watch the language. Watch the language.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I saw this raggedy rabbi. I don't remember if he was on your channel where you was proving truth, or if he was on another brother's channel where they were proving truth. And he tried to come in with BS. I don't know if it was on yours because see, I only deal with people that speak the truth. So he might have been on your channel, or he might have been on another brother's channel. I want to put
No
him in
rabbis
the
coming on my
garbage.
channel. No rabbis. They don't want
Yeah.
that. They don't want that
Oh, okay.
conversation.
Exactly. With the fake stuff. So for on the other brother's channel, that fake who was trending, put him in the garbage can.
Okay. All right. I think
The
it's
fake
what
who was
Rabbi
trending. The fake
Rosenberg.
who was trending.
All right.
The fake who was trending.
Put him in the garbage can.
Put him in the. We the real.
Well, hey,
I love you,
appreciate it, Don.
PK. I love you,
And
PK. Hey man, listen, we about to make some power moves in 2013. The Most High is about to combine a whole lot of things.
yeah.
Not only spirit, but body. Because here's the deal. There's a war that has to be fought. And some folks think that this war is just spiritual. They think that 144 is gonna handle it. No, baby. No, baby. The blood is real.
Yeah.
And we gonna have to handle it. And y'all soldiers, not your little mark ass, not your
Hey,
little
all
mark
right,
soldiers.
Don.
Okay, are we? Because
All right.
you know what, you
Look.
know how we do it, PK. We'll
But
get
look,
into it in 3 hours. I
I got
love you,
one more
bro.
person
I
here, real
love
quick.
you, bro.
Yeah, we'll connect. I'll be online in the if not tomorrow, I'll be
Hey,
online
hey,
in a
hey,
couple of
hey, hey,
days.
PK. Let's hook up in the DM.
All right,
Let's do
definitely.
that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. I love you, my man. Thank you for bringing this little nightcap. That's what I like to call it, nightcap. Thank you for bringing a nightcap because we don't get it on the West Coast, baby.
Yeah.
And so I move out of screen. I'm all out of
All
screen
right.
because
But
I'm
hey,
just animated. But
I'll be
hey,
online
let's
in a
let's
couple of
let's chop
days.
it up.
All
Okay,
right.
let's
Love
do
you,
that.
man.
Let's do
All
that.
right.
Love you, man.
All right. Blessings. All right.
Hello.
Wise Society. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm blessed. Can't complain.
Can you hear me clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I appreciate you letting me on. I wanted to just give a word of encouragement to parents during this time. I'm a single parent and I take care of my kids very well all year. People see that, but for whatever reason, when I say no, my children cannot have partake in your celebrations for Christmas or any of these other holidays, then people suddenly start to act like I'm abusing them. Like I am, not letting them have a normal childhood. And I know it has to be rough on other people that are, living a holy and set apart life. It's just really this time around this year, it was really bad because neighbors, were trying to slide them little gifts and things like that. And I'm thinking, the kids are not neglected. They're taken very good care of all year long. But it's something about this holiday and Christmas time that makes you guys feel, and I don't know what it is. I've been trying to figure it out. I don't want to try to figure it out anymore. but it's hard. And so I want to encourage other parents that maybe for the first time saying no to their families, no to the celebrations, no to the neighbors. We're not going to live our lives this way because it is tough. And, you know, it's something that they don't understand and they don't see. But, you know, just keep going and stay the course. My kids understand. They don't feel neglected. They don't feel abused. They understand fully what, you know, the reasons are why we don't celebrate it. So that's basically what I wanted to say.
Oh, I appreciate it. Appreciate it. And unfortunately, a lot of parents, they kind of hide behind their children. You know what I mean? With things that they allow them to indulge in. I remember years ago was doing like a skating party for the young people, for the youth, and there was just some parents that chose not to allow their children to go, but the children wanted to go, but their parents wanted them to go to a school dance, right?
Right.
And when I went to the parents and I talked to them, I said, "Hey, your child want to really go to this youth function, but they saying that you're making them go to a school dance." And the parent gave every excuse in the world that why, and you know, their child couldn't go or attend the skating function. But when it really boiled down to is the parent wanted it for themselves, right?
Right.
And and they used the children as an excuse, because I said to the parent, would you rather for your child to be in a controlled environment around other kids that believe in the Most High? You know, so you're not going to deal with all kinds of things like, you know, cursing, and, you know, you're not going to deal with all those things, but you're going to allow your child to go to a school dance, you know, go to, it was like an 8th grade prom and all this other stuff. It just,
right.
But in a nutshell, it's just the parents hiding behind their children, because you hear a lot of people with Christmas, oh, well, it's for the kids. No, my daughters, you know, my wife and I, our daughters, we don't do the Christmas thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't regret it, you know, but we always make it a point to do for them and, you know, bless them and so forth. But they never had you know, felt any kind of way by not celebrating Christmas, because they would go off of what we do. So that's just
right.
A lot of people just hiding behind the children with their approach. But that, you know, that is something to take in consideration, to pray for, because it is a lot of pressure on people that are not, especially those that are transitioning from those traditions and just want to serve the Most High. Because I'm sure you probably experienced it. You tell your family that, you know what, I'm not going to celebrate Christmas anymore. They start looking at you side eye. Then when you tell them that you're going to start honoring the feast days, or you one of those people, or you honor Shabbat, or you one of those people. Well, what do you mean one of those people? So it's a lot of negativity that comes with that.
They did that even about our eating habits changing. Like, we're not eating pork. As a matter of fact, I don't eat meat, and that's just my choice. And just the food choices that we make. And so I told my kids, I said, look, anything that you have to stress over, what will we eat, what will we drink, and what will we wear, there's a problem. When you watch people scattering around, what will we eat, what will we drink, what will we wear, that is not from the Most High. That is what pagans and Gentiles and the heathen chase after, and we don't need to do that. And so, you know, my kids have started, instead of looking at it like, okay, well, it's a holiday and we're not celebrating, they're looking at, are people chasing after what they're going to eat, trying to decide what they're going to wear, trying to decide all of these things that we're not supposed to be stressed about. And the worst thing that family members will say is, well, didn't nobody do you like that when you were little? Well, a frequency of a wrong doesn't make it right. And so as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Most High. You could decide to do what you're going to do. But when they say that around the children, it's like, well, is my mom doing us wrong? You know, and it's those questions that we constantly have to fortify our children. So I appreciate just taking the time to share that with somebody that may be experiencing the same thing. Like, continue to stay the course, keep the kids in the truth. You know, if it's your first time saying no, you know, just continue to say no. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. And I'm not going to let my children live in a lie. I'd rather just tell them the truth. And so that's basically what I wanted to say.
Well, appreciate it, sis. Couldn't say it any better than what you just laid out. Really appreciate it. And we're going to keep praying. We're going to keep encouraging those that are experiencing that. And I can imagine how much pressure it is. I'm a pastor and had to deal with a lot of negativity from family, from other pastors that have helped build their ministries and keep their ministries afloat. So I know just from if I dealt with it where I'm at, I can imagine how, some of those that are coming in are dealing with. It can be very rough.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, anyone you want to throw in the garbage can? Anything you want to throw in the garbage can? I'm not sure if you're familiar with the garbage can, but
I am familiar with the garbage can. I want to throw the people that keep trying to give my children candy canes in the store in the garbage can.
don't you hate that when people
Yes.
come and circumvent you and try to give
Right.
your kids something, and now you got to deal with the problem. I
Yes.
never forget. I was in the teller, in the bank, and the teller came up while I was at the counter and just came up and put a lollipop in my daughter's hand. And before I
Right.
could tell my daughter not to put it in her mouth, you know how kids are, man. The lollipop hitting all up on her teeth, and she got it in her mouth.
Right.
And you can imagine what I had to deal with her getting that lollipop out, because we were, I was going to the bank to get some money so we could go, have breakfast and all those things. And of course, the teller, I gave some choice words because of overstepping that boundary. So I can imagine, you know what I mean?
Right. Like, when do we find it acceptable to take gifts from strangers? Candy, right? Like, that used to be stranger danger when I was little, but it's always acceptable for holidays. Like, it's just not okay. So I don't know. My kids know they're old enough to understand and say no, but the pressure you can see, when you have an 11-year-old, the pressure is there. You can see the contention because everyone is doing it. But I believe that my son will continue to choose the truth and the right path.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, sis, really appreciate you jumping on and giving those words of encouragement. Feel free to jump on anytime. I'll be back online in a couple of days. Actually, hopefully in a couple of days. I'm trying to have it done tomorrow. The road to Savannah, I've been working around the clock on it, so should have it done should be within the next 24 hours. So be on the lookout for it. But really appreciate the love and support, and thank you again for jumping on. Really appreciate you.
I hope your channel don't go back into Facebook jail. When people have questions for me, I share your videos. Like, here's the answer, because it's better that you articulate it than I can. So I appreciate everything you do in edifying and teaching us and helping us to study more. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate you as well. Thank you, and have a great remainder of the night or early in the morning, right? So have a good one.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Aaron or Aharon. You could go ahead and unmute yourself. You'll be the last one. What do you have here? How are you tonight or this morning?
I'm doing good, Pastor Kelly. Shalom, man. Great lesson tonight. Blessings to the sister for standing firm on, letting people know. I've been doing it all week. At work, at the gym, people, so what are you doing for Christmas? And, I tell them, I don't celebrate. And it's that, what? Like, you don't celebrate? And you know what I tell them? And I've been doing this for about 2 years now. I'll tell them, hey, I'm a believer in Christ and the Bible. And, Christmas has nothing to do with Christ. And believe it or not, a lot of people know that.
Yep.
Because the answer I'll get is, oh, well, yeah. And I'll cut them short, like, well, yeah, so that's why I don't celebrate. And that's it. Nothing else is said. So I'm starting to notice, like, okay, so a lot of people know that this whole birth of Christ on Christmas Day is a lie. And they choose to still go with it. So, that's what I've been doing for the past 2 years now. You know, before that, I would just tell them like, you know, I would make up something, but now I'm bold with it now. I'm like, hey, I'm a believer in Christ and the Bible, and Christmas has nothing to do with Christ. And, you know, they're like, oh, well, yeah, I know. So there you have it. Man, about the, you know, my grandfathers, two of my grandfathers, one on my mom's side and one on my dad's side, I used to sit with them a lot when I was younger. And they used to tell me stories about, I'm from South Carolina. I'm from the Low Country. And we're probably like 45 minutes up the road, up 95 from Savannah. And they used to tell me, man, how they used to, they would try to build like schools for like the little communities in the area I grew up in, and how you know, the white folks would burn them down in the night. You know, they would start off trying to build little schools, and next thing you know, you know, next morning they're burning. You know, it's down to ashes. So yeah, it's that the stuff that we went through is kind of hard, you know, when you're talking to people and they don't and they reject the fact that, you know, that we are the people that the book talks about. And it's just it's frustrating sometimes, but you know, the Most High is going to put it on some to be awake and to see that, and he's going to keep the blinders on some, and we just have to, you know, continue to pray for our brothers and sisters that are rejecting this truth to hopefully one day, you know, to wake up to it. You know, I've been getting edified all day, man, and this was the icing on the cake tonight. You know, I'm a member of GOCC, and you know, so Elder Ricard had a beautiful lesson earlier today, and then I tuned into yours tonight, and I'll just, you know, all praises to the Most High, man, for you brothers, continuing to teach us, you know, and to for us to, because I take notes. I save all your videos. I share your videos, because it's helping me in my walk to have better understanding, especially with this history, the history of the church, the history of what our people really went through. Some of the stuff you was going through tonight, I was like, yeah, you know, some of the other stuff you know, the stuff that we got coming up was watered down compared to some of the stuff that you brought out tonight. And I know that's probably not all you have. I know you probably have some more, you know, that it's gruesome. It's gruesome, man. The stuff that we went through, but that's all I wanted to say, man. I appreciate you all. You know, all praises to the Most High for blessing us with leaders as yourself to continue to feed us with this knowledge.
Well, appreciate you and thank you. And, you know, stay encouraged. Just like the sister pointed out, we all have to stay encouraged. And this is a time we got to rally together. So many different things that are out here that's trying to keep us isolated and separate from each other, you know, and I kind of think about like predators, you know, when you look at lions and some of the different predators inside the wild kingdom, as far as in Africa, they purposely try to stir up whatever herd, so that way there'll always be someone that stray away from the mass, and they pounce on it. So that's what Hasatan wants us to do, not come together, stay being scattered even among ourselves, and make it harder for us to come together, make it that much more of a challenge to come to be one voice, you know. So definitely appreciate you, really appreciate you. And is there anyone or anything you want to give the garbage can to tonight as we get ready to wrap up?
Yeah, man, throw the ADL in the trash, man.
Oh, absolutely. I wish I want to throw like 5 garbage cans. Matter of fact, let me give him the trash can.
Yeah.
A 3-piece. And let me give their order to go.
That's it for me, man. That's who I want in the trash.
Well, hey, I really appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for jumping on. And anytime I'm live and you want to jump on, feel free to do so. But thank you again, to have a blessed remainder of the night. I'm getting ready to take it now. As you can see, my eyes, this is how my eyes get when it gets late. It gets like this, man. And you can imagine, man, when I was in the military, man, I used to get drug tested all the time because I used to work a lot of hours, but they couldn't understand that, hey, this is how my eyes do when I get sleepy. So you can see my eyes look like they barely open. So
we appreciate you, man. We appreciate you staying up and giving us your time, man. All praises to the Most High for that, man.
Absolutely. And again, feel free to jump on anytime, okay?
All right.
All right. Love you, my brother. Have a blessed remainder of the morning or night, of the darkness or whatever. But enjoy. Get some rest as well, all right? Thank you again for the love and support.
All right.
All right. Shalom. All right, family. Appreciate you guys. And we're getting ready to wrap up. We are going to call it a night. I'm getting ready to take it down. But just want to give you some words of encouragement to close out. I want to give you Exodus chapter 12. Chapter 14, verse 13 to 14. I used to also use Exodus chapter 12 when it talks about this month shall be the first month of the year to you. I use that as a theme for our ministry, that this day that you accept the Messiah, the Hebrew Israelite Messiah, right? This will be a new year for you. This is your new year. But taking a step further, Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14, this is Israel needing encouragement because they out of Egypt, but now it's like their past. The Egyptians are trying to come and catch up with them, want to bring them back into bondage. They also want to, murder whoever they can, but suppress them again, oppress them again. So with that being said, Moses had to encourage the people because they had what seemed to be a dead end in front of them. And so he said to them, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, right? These strongholds, this oppression that we're up under right now, guess what? There's going to come a point in time that we will never have to deal with it again. It will not have power over us ever again. The Most High will fight for us. But here's the kicker. We have to do exactly what the scripture says. We have to hold our peace. The Hebrew word there is not shalom. It's not to others, shalom. It's not salama to others. It's charash, which means be quiet. Guess what, family? Sometimes we got to learn how to be quiet. Calculated silence. So with that being said, guess what? Can't go back, can't stay here. And family, we have to keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.